Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 2. Now let's start the fanfic. It's been a full year since Naruto met Anko and it's been hell for the last year. He has been coming home with bruises that even the Kyuubi had some trouble healing for a while until it was used to healing them and only took a few minutes. Anko trained him in dodging, poison, and some water ninjutsu outside of the jutsu his mother created. She taught him water dragon jutsu, water wall, water prison, and water clone. However, them hanging out also got Anko kicked out of the dango shop. The result was a prank done by Anko and Naruto so bad that the shop still isn't open again yet. So now she usually eats at the Akamichi barbecue shop or the Ichiraku's ramen shop, which now sells dango and sake. Of course, the civilian council tried blaming Naruto and Anko for the prank. However, like last time, it resulted in Naruto getting off with no punishment along with Anko, who openly laughed when Naruto openly insulted Danzo and Koharu to their faces. Now, however, we find the 8-year-old sitting at the training ground working on his wind chakra nature by splitting a rock in half, but can only get it halfway. He would use shadow clones, but he rises to use them except for jutsu practice and not chakra control or nature manipulation. Shisui taught him 4 wind jutsus from scrolls he collected. He taught him wind style, gale palm, wind style, vacuum blade, wind style, wind bullet, and wind style. Sonic boom. This is Naruto's favorite wind jutsu because you clap your hands and it creates a tunnel of wind while crescent-shaped blades of wind move around in the tunnel and cut the opponent up. It's been an interesting yet hectic year for Naruto. The last nurse alive that helped deliver Naruto revealed who his mother was to the public, thinking the Hokage wouldn't do anything to her because he was old and too kind. What happened to her was she was tortured by Anko, who managed to torture her for 48 hours straight non-stop while keeping he alive before she finally killed her. When news got out that he was the son of Kiyomi Uchiha, the village treated him even worse, knowing she was the most hated Uchiha since Madara Uchiha, all because she didn't want a loveless marriage. The Uchiha clan started to act like they cared, but Naruto knew otherwise. They just wanted the Sharingan to remain in the Uchiha clan. However, they also wanted the Kyuubi under their control, but they were stopped by the law stating Naruto can never be adopted or taken in by anybody. He also met Sasuke, who tried to belittle him every chance he got, but each time Naruto would look at him with a blank face and walk away. He also met Kurenai, who he recognized from the orphanage, and she became somewhat friends with her, only somewhat, because he told her he learned to read from the Ika Ika books and Kurenai hated those books. He also met Yugao and Hana. He didn't mind Yugao since he knew she was the same cat-masked Anbu that used to watch him. Now Hana was a different story because she tried to tease him, not knowing he already had the talk. After she got done teasing him, he told her if he was a few years older he would put a ball gag in her mouth, cuff her hands in her doggy style while pulling her hair and slapping her, and destroy her insides until she couldn't feel her legs anymore, like the dirty little bitch in Heat that she was. The result was Hana being put in the hospital via a severe nosebleed causing blood loss. After that, she never teased him again. She did say she was willing to let him do it, but he said he was saving himself for the love of his life, but wouldn't say who. Only Anko knew who he was talking about. After getting rid of those thoughts, Naruto got up and made his way home since he would be starting the academy tomorrow, and Anko said she would walk him. Next morning, Naruto wakes up and gets ready for his first day at the academy. Naruto knows he is well above academy standards. He was taught a lot by Anko and Shisui, and Anko said without his Sharingan overall he can take on most high Chunin, and with the Sharingan he was able to take on a mid-Jonin opponent. His ninjutsu, they put him at low Jonin. His genjutsu was non-existent without the Sharingan. However, due to some training with Kurenai, he can break out of a ranked genjutsu now. His taijutsu was high Chunin level, and his fuinjutsu he was a level 9 seal master and was currently working on level 10, but he was learning very slowly because this level would cover juinjutsu as well, and how to create seals with your own chakra and marking people with seals by just touching them. He wondered how Jiraiya was a seal master if he couldn't do any of these. He was interrupted by a smoke bomb coming through his window, exploding, showing a banner stuck to his ceiling with "The Great Y and Single Anko Mitarashi has arrived," with a chibi Anko in the corner holding up a peace sign. He can only shake his head at this, but he knows he wouldn't trade Anko for anything in the world. Are you ready, Naru-chan? The academy entrance ceremony starts in 5 minutes. She says. He looks at the clock in shock, and it does start in 5 minutes, so he puts his shoes on and they leave via Shunshin. Anko via a leaf Shunshin, and Naruto just disappears. It helps when you have Shisui the teleported teach you the Shunshin jutsu, however Naruto's working on adding elemental nature to his to give it more flash. They arrive just in time for the speech to begin. They see the Hokage, who starts talking, but Naruto tunes him out and looks around. He notices he is in a class filled with clan heirs and a lot of civilians. 1500 Ryo says none of the civilians bothered to even train. He thought to himself. He was broken out of his thoughts when the sound of a bell rang, not knowing what was going on. He looked at Anko, who sighs, knowing he wasn't paying attention. You are in room 103. You are with all the clan heirs and some civilians in the room you will be in for the next 4 years, so get used to it. She said and kneeled down to give him a hug, much to the shock of everybody around, and whispered about how the demon brat and snake whore began, in which she stands up and yells. Do you have a ing problem? Huh? You got some shit to say? Nobody spoke up. Everybody was quiet and kids were crying. Hiruzen, seeing this, can only sigh at this. That's what I thought. Now have a good day, Naru-chan. She leans and kisses him on the head and leaves, not seeing the look on a certain scar-faced Chunin. Inside the classroom, the teacher is doing roll call and gets to his name and says it with venom. Naruto Uchiha. Yes, that's another thing, he had to change his last name to Uchiha, much to his displeasure. Uzumaki sounded much better. He gives a 2-finger lazy salute. Yo. The teacher marks him down and begins the lessons for the day, but not before kicking Naruto out of class for some dumbass reason. He didn't really care though, so he just left with no arguments. A few months later, Naruto was sneaking around the Uchiha clan compound and found out when and how the Uchiha clan are going to attack. He goes to Shisui's training field and finds him standing there. Shisui, I just found out how the Uchiha clan are going to pull off the coup, and when they are doing it. He says frantically. Yeah, I know as well. Itachi just told me 5 minutes ago. He says with a sigh, I have an idea on how to stop the coup from happening. He activates his Sharingan and then his Mangekyo appears. I have gained a genjutsu called Kotoamatsukami that allows me to send suggestions into someone's brain and make them act out those suggestions without them even knowing. However, I only have one shot at this because with my eyes only being a Mangekyo and not having eternal light, I can only use it once. I want to run this by the Hokage since it seems his peaceful talks will no longer work. He says, deactivating his Sharingan. That sounds like a good plan, Shisui. I don't think he would have a problem with it. It's to protect the village and ultimately the world from another war. Naruto says. Him and Shisui talk some more before Naruto goes home, and Shisui does the same. However, the next day we find Naruto in class looking at the clock. He has 1 hour left before he can leave. After an hour, the bell rings. Naruto goes home and practices his Fuinjutsu some more. When he senses Shisui's chakra fluctuate, he arrives to see Shisui being attacked by 10 blank mask Anbu with his Sharingan activated and is surrounded by a green ethereal warrior fighting of the Anbu, but Naruto senses he is low on chakra and has a hole in his chest and is coughing out blood. So Naruto activates his Sharingan and rushes into battle. However, Naruto notices that these Anbu are only low Jonin level ninja in terms of skill, so he jumps down and creates an shadow clone and goes through 2 hand signs while the clone is seen holding a sign Naruto, and the clone calls out. Wind style. Sonic boom jutsu. Fire style. Fire dragon jutsu. Collaboration style. Dragon cyclone jutsu. The wind tunnel and crescent wind blades combined with the fierce blue fire of the clone's fire dragon created a larger dragon that ate up 4 Anbu who were not expecting this and burned them alive while cutting them up. Seeing the other 6 Anbu distracted momentarily, Shisui uses his Susanoo to kill them. However, one escaped before he could get hit but was intercepted by Naruto, who caught him in a Sharingan genjutsu, paralyzing him, and before Naruto could do anything, the Anbu but down on a pill and began to foam out the mouth, falling to the ground dead. Damn it. He swore until he seen Shisui barely standing up, and Shisui tells him follow him to a cliff and tells Naruto to stay hidden in the trees and do not come out. Naruto does as told in few seconds. Later Itachi arrives concerned for his friend and Shisui explains everything to him, planning on using his Mangekyo Sharingan Genjutsu to stop the coup and telling the Hokage and him approving of the plan to Danzo trying to steal his eyes with 25 Root Anbu backing him up but failing. He didn't mention Naruto at all. After all that is done, Shisui summons a raven that produces a scroll and Shisui creates a clone and has it remove his eyes and put them in a container with liquid in them before handing it to the raven, who disappears in a puff of smoke already knowing what to do. Shisui steps back to the edge of the cliff and tells Itachi he is sorry he failed in his mission to stop the coup and entrusts him to stop the coup now. By now Itachi has his eyes closed and Shisui looks in Naruto's direction and gives him one last smile before falling off the cliff ending his life. Shisui! Itachi yells as he tried to stop his friend from doing this and fails. He closes his eyes and blood starts to come from his eyes. He opens them to reveal his 3 pinwheel Sharingan eyes and leaves, not even noticing Naruto up in the tree crying his eyes out. He opens them to reveal his Mangekyo Sharingan. His has 4 choke tomo spinning around his pupil. Imagine Madara's Mangekyo but with 4 instead of 3. A week later, news has gotten out that Shisui was dead and everybody mourned for his death via suicide. They couldn't believe it, but it was true. But some people within the Uchiha clan claimed it was Itachi even after finding Shisui's suicide note, causing him to lash out and attack 3 members of the police force before his father stopped him. Meanwhile, everyone who knew how close Naruto was to Shisui went to check him and he wasn't home and he wasn't at the Hokage training ground. They looked all weak but gave up knowing he was alright, since it's literally impossible to sneak up on him and they didn't feel his chakra spike. Meanwhile, Naruto was sitting in the same tree. He watched Shisui take his life in staring at a kunai, activating and deactivating his Mangekyo. He hasn't been training with it yet because he doesn't know what his can do. He is removed from his thoughts when the same raven Shisui summoned appeared in front of him. It dropped a scroll in Naruto's lap and disappeared. Naruto opened the scroll and channeled chakra into it before a bot fell out along with the vial with Shisui's eyes. Naruto, I know this will be hard for you to cope with it. My death was necessary for the village. Even if I succeeded in stopping the coup d'etat, I would most likely have died within the year anyways. You see, Naruto, what nobody knew was that I had multiple tumors grow in my body that would have required the world's best medic to remove, and she is no longer in the village. I am talking about Tsunade Senju, the granddaughter of the first Hokage Hashirama Senju. Now do not go blaming her for not being here to save me. I didn't find out until a week before we discovered the Uchiha clan's plan to take over the village. I am happy, Naruto, that I got to meet you and spend time with you. I cherished every single moment I spent with you. Despite you being my nephew, I couldn't help but look at you as my little brother that I always wanted but never got. I have left my eyes to you because, like I told you before, you will need to gain eternal light, and despite having the Kyuubi sealed in you, it cannot stop your eyes from losing the light, only slow down the process. I want you to practice with your Mangekyo and master them and transfer switch my eyes with yours. When everything starts to become a blur, once your eyes reach that stage, they will deteriorate at a faster pace. I would suggest you having somebody you trust do the transplant for you. Keep my eyes on you at all times. You cannot let them fall into the wrong hands. Like someone likes Danzo, the ability to basically control someone's mind would be dangerous. I so suggest placing a barely noticeable blood seal on your body and keeping them there until you need them. Now I'm here to tell you the abilities of the Mangekyo Sharingan. The first is the Genjutsu. I have Kotoamatsukami. It lets you go into the mind of someone to either give them suggestions or take info out of them without them even knowing you did it. The second ability is the most powerful Genjutsu that can only be broken by another Mangekyo Sharingan only if their will is stronger than the caster of the Tsukuyomi. This Genjutsu lets traps your opponent in a world you control for 3 days. However, in the real world it only lasts 3 seconds. Third, we have Amaterasu black flames that burn for 7 days and 7 nights and can only be extinguished by the caster of the flames. Next we have the ability to control the shape of the Amaterasu flames called Kagutsuchi. Next there is the Kamui and long range and short range move to absorb anything including yourself into your own pocket dimension. The left eye is long range while the right eye is short ranger. Next we have the Susanoo, an ethereal warrior made of chakra, the ultimate defense of the Mangekyo Sharingan used for offensive and defensive fighting. Finally we have the Izanagi and an Izanami. Izanagi is a genjutsu that allows you to control reality and cheat death. The cost is the eye you use goes blind and the only way to regain the eyesight is an eye transplant or unlocking the Rinnegan. The Izanami is a genjutsu that affects your opponent through physical contact between them and the user, and unlike the Izanagi where you alter destiny, the Izanami decides for you. That is all I know about the Mangekyo Sharingan and abilities. I need you to burn this note after you read it. You cannot afford to let the Uchiha clan find this note. I'm sorry, but this is goodbye forever. Naruto, please do not fall down the path of darkness and do not go looking for revenge. I have a feeling Danzo may come after me from my eyes since I seen how he was looking me when I told my plan. Let things run its course, and if Danzo comes after you then you may take him out. However, don't do anything foolish. I have high hopes for you and I know your mother would be proud of you to see the man you will become. I'll see you again someday, but not to swoon. Hopefully grow up and start a family, preferably with that girl Samui if you ever find her again. I'm sure your mom would like some grandbabies. I'm rambling. NOWC. Stay strong, work hard and never forget who you are. Shisui Uchiha. Naruto burns the note after reading it again one more time and using his Sharingan to remember it word for word. He gets up with a look of determination. He places a small blood seal on the inside of his bicep and stores Shisui's eyes in it. Then he gets up and begins practicing his Mangekyo abilities. Meanwhile, a certain fox in a cage looks on at Naruto's determination and notices the darkness that was forming again simply vanished. It was at that moment where the Kyuubi deemed Naruto worthy and would leave him a few parting gifts for when he is finally set free from his prison in a few years. After a few hours of practicing his Mangekyo, he found out he can use Kamui, Amaterasu, and Tsukuyomi, which means he will be able to use Kagutsuchi and the Susanoo, but isn't pushing it. He needs to master what he has now, and with that he returns to the village and enters his apartment to see Anko sleeping on the couch peacefully. He grabs a blanket and places it over her, causing her to wake up, and when she notices him, give him a hug and asks if he's okay, and he tells he about the letter Shisui wrote for him, excluding the part about Danzo and the Uchiha coup d'etat he did however scare her. She found out he will go blind, but she was relieved when it was a way around it, so she was determined to learn medical ninjutsu to help him out. When the time came for the transfer, it was past midnight when he finally went to sleep. He still has the academy to go to after all. He wakes up the next day feeling like a huge weight was lifted off his shoulders. He decided to walk to school for one and can already feel the hateful stares he is getting but ignores them. He also senses the Anbu following him. One is Kat aka Yugao, another is Boat who is leaking hated at him. However, he also feels one more hanging far back that is emotionless and knows that one belongs to Root. So Danzo already is trying to get me. Sorry you pedophile, I don't roll that way. He thought as he turned down an alley and shunshuns to the school, losing both regular and Root Anbu that was following him. He arrives at the classroom just as the teacher says his name. Naruto Uchiha is absent yet again. He goes to put another red mark but Naruto stops him. I'm right here sensei, he says, causing everyone to look at the door. Yo, he says. However, everybody starts calling him names which he doesn't listen to because he is busy thinking about Samui again. She should be here with me right now. He thought, unaware that she was thinking the same thing in Kumo. Since she moved there, she has adopted a serious stoic look on her face and doesn't speak much. She is a second in her class only because the number one girl was the Two Tails Jinchuriki, who had previous training already. She kept her blonde hair in the same style and never took the necklace off unless she was training. She doesn't talk to her parents at all and they honestly don't care. It's funny how they treated Naruto with hate but love the Jinchuriki that live in Kumo. Naruto told her the second day because she told him her secret of believing monsters lived in her closet and under her bed, and he told her about the Kyuubi. She can't wait for the day she can go on a ninja mission to look for him because she still believes he is alive. Back to Naruto, he finally stops staring off into space and comes back after the insults come, and in typical Naruto fashion he responds. I'm sorry, what was that? He said, making everyone including the teacher fall over. He shrugs and goes to sit down. The class remains the same except he didn't get kicked out, he was just ignored, not that he really cared. Lunchtime came around and he took out a bento and started to eat and look up when somebody stood over him and he saw Sasuke along with his fan club and Kiba. For some reason, as far as Naruto remembers, they don't like each other. Hey look everybody, it's the loser from the loser side of the Uchiha clan, Kiba says, getting laughs from everybody. Yay loser, stand up and bow to your superior as I'm a part of the main family and son of the clan head. Sasuke said, however Naruto just ignored him. However, what Kiba said next set Naruto off. Yeah, you heard him, stand up and bow to your superiors. You could be like us, but you're nothing but a branch member because of your mother. Instead of her obeying the clan like a good little bitch like she should have, she decided to go out and whore around with random men and just had to have you. I bet if she was alive she would lay down and spread her legs for me as well. The next thing Kiba knew, he had a fist in his stomach and was coughing up blood a lot from a broken rib puncturing his lung. The teacher with the scar across his nose sees this and rushes over. Naruto, what the hell is your problem? Go home, you're suspended for a week, you aren't supposed to. He stopped talking when he saw the cold look in Naruto's eyes. Shut up, Naruto said before walking off. The teacher picked Kiba up and took him to the hospital to be treated. Later that day, Naruto is in the Hokage's office with Kiba, the scarred teacher, and they were waiting for his mother to arrive. There was a knock on the door. Come in, Hiruzen says, and in walks a lady he recognized from the council meetings, and Hana, who blushes when she sees Naruto again, remembering what he said to her last time they talked, getting a raised eyebrow from Hiruzen and her mother. I'm glad you could make it on such short notice. However, there was an incident in school between these two which landed Kiba in the hospital, but he was able to get treated and patched up. He says. Suna nods at this. I'm aware there was an incident at school, however I want to know what happened because I've met Naruto before and it would take Kiba doing or saying something stupid for Naruto to react like that. So what happened? Kiba stayed silent and refused to answer, so Naruto said everything that happened, which Kiba denied. So Sum asked if Inoichi can come search his memories, and within 20 minutes in he came and searched Kiba's memories for the incident and revealed what Naruto said was indeed true. Kiba had a scared look on his face from the looks his mom and sister were giving him because they knew who his mom was. Kiba then starts throwing insults at Naruto, who of course once again isn't paying attention and is reading a book on Fuinjutsu, and looks up with Kiba pointing at him and everybody waiting for his response, and simply replies, what was that? Pissing Kiba off, and Hiruzen was hoping Naruto doesn't start showing up late to everything. Hiruzen dismisses everyone, but Sum asks a question. Naruto, why was Hana blushing when she looked at you? She asked, curious of what was going on, so Naruto whispered in her ear what he told Hana and said loud enough. With my stamina I can make that happen too. What happens next is Sum gets a nosebleed but manages to stay conscious, however she gets weak in the knees and Hana passes out from blood loss again from another nosebleed. Hiruzen is silently cursing his luck for not knowing what was said, as it could be used in the next Ika Ika book. Everybody leaves but Naruto, who stays behind to hang out with his Gigi and talk. He leaves at night and smells blood and notices 2 chakra signatures killing everything. However, one is fluctuating like his does. When he uses the Kamui to teleport himself into his dimension, he activated his own Kamui and went into his own dimension and traveled around the Uchiha clan district, seeing Itachi killing his own clan. So this is the way you chose to deal with the coup, Itachi. I don't know if Shisui would approve of this, but I'll trust your judgment if Shisui wanted you to deal with it. He thought to himself just as he was about to leave, until he noticed a guy in a mask walk up to Itachi and say something to him before leaving. Interesting, so that is the guy claiming to be Madara Uchiha. I've seen pictures of Madara and this guy doesn't even have the right body size, and I can tell he uses a jutsu to disguise his voice. Something isn't right here, he thought before moving towards his house before exiting his pocket dimension. And going to his house. I need to practice the Kamui more. It takes 4 seconds for me to activate the Kamui, that's too long for me. I need it to be instinct activated. Then I can start trying on the Kagutsuchi and Susanoo. I need to learn some more of my mom's ninjutsus as well. I heard she had a lighting jutsu she couldn't handle due to her lighting affinity not being strong enough to handle it despite her doing all of the exercises. He said to himself before falling asleep. He wakes up in the morning walking. He can hear the people talking about the Uchiha massacre, but he remained calm because it didn't affect him when he was asked why. He said the only person he cared for from the Uchiha clan was dead before the massacre happened but would never tell who it was. He gets to the classroom and the teacher comes in and says both Uchiha have the entire week off from school to deal with the massacre. All Naruto did was packed a week's worth of clothes and stayed at the Hokage training grounds and trained his Mangekyo techniques and begin on lightning manipulation. The following week he was supposed to return to school. He was walking when he saw an old lady struggling with her bags and decided to help her out, but she lived on the other side of town and arrived at school 3 hours late. "Naruto, mind telling me why you're late?" the teacher asked, knowing he wasn't paying attention. To his surprise, Naruto answered right away. However, the answer is what pissed him off. "Well, you see, I was on my way when I spotted an old lady struggling with her bags and I walked her home, but I had to take the long easy back due a black cat getting in my way," he said. Silence everybody but the teacher and Sasuke, who was brooding, had the same thought. Naruto was walking down the streets of Konoha on his way to the academy for graduation. It was finally time for him to graduate and become a genin. It was 5 years because the Sandaime decided to add an extra year in not wanting to send kids out at 12 years old on dangerous missions. He wanted to add 2 years, however he had to make it 1 year due to being outvoted by the civilian council who had children in the academy, and with the vote of the Uchiha clan not being counted anymore, he lost the vote. Naruto was excited. Even though his skills are way above Genin level, without his Sharingan he is at low mid Jonin. However, with his Sharingan activated he can take on a high Jonin, but it would be close. Now if we were to use his Mangekyo, he can take on a mid Anbu level opponent. Speaking of his Mangekyo, Naruto was able to summon the Amaterasu flames almost instantly. His Tsukuyomi lasted the full 3 seconds in the real world. He got the Kamui down to 1 second, however it was still too slow for him. The guy who used it at the Uchiha massacre used it instantly. He unlocked Kagutsuchi and was a natural at it. However, he has yet to unlock his Susanoo yet, but he isn't worried and doesn't want to stress his eyes yet. His relationship with Anko has grown and it was like they were together his entire life. She even took over his second bedroom and made it her own, although he didn't mind. Kurenai was finally able to get over her issue with Naruto and they became close. Hana tried to convince him to let her take his virginity when he became a genin, however he turned her down but introduced her to Genma, who he was cool with after meeting him during one of his pranks on a civilian shop that Genma didn't really like because the merchant was a major douchebag. They have been together for 3 years now. He met Hayate through Yugao and asked him why he was always coughing. He told him he had a lung disease that nobody found a cure yet, and Naruto vouched to find it for him. Kurenai was secretly dating Asuma, who Naruto met a few years ago. After his return from the Guardian 12 position, he decided to let them remain a secret. Now the 13-year-old has finally reached the academy and is ready to take the exam. "Why, hello Naruto. Nice of you to join us. After all, you're only 3 hours late," Iruka said with an eye twitch and barely contained anger. He took over after Naruto's second year after he decided to retire from Anbu. After seeing Anko back in the village, he tried to talk to her, but both of them would stutter and blush before saying goodbye. Naruto found it pathetic and decided after he graduates he will get them together, as he already had a plan. However, Irukasastant Mizuki was pissed that Iruka waited for him to show up. He wanted the demon brat to fail and he would make sure he did. "Well, you see, Iruka-sensei, I was walking to school when I must have taken a wrong turn along the road and got lost," he says, which was true. However, nobody believed him. "Whatever, just sit down," he said. "Now since Naruto is here we can begin the first test, which you have 45 minutes. The first test is a written test." The sound of a head hitting the table was heard and it was Naruto who did it. It wasn't a secret, he hated written tests, he found them pointless even though he always passed. 45 minutes later, all the tests we completed. Alright, everyone outside for the next portion of the exam. Kunai and shuriken throwing followed up by a taijutsu spar against Mizuki, in which you have to last at least 2 minutes. The clan heirs all did good except Ino Yamanaka, who got a 4 on kunai throwing and a 5 on the shuriken throwing. The only person who did worse than her was Sakura Haruno, who got a 3 on the kunai and a 2 on shuriken. Naruto was wondering how she was the best kunoichi in the class with skills as pathetic as hers. It was now Sasuke's turn, in which resulted in high-pitched squeaking from the Sasuke fan club. "Okay Sasuke, go ahead," Iruka said. Sasuke says nothing and just throws the kunai landing 9 out of 10, causing his fangirls to scream, then throws the shuriken and hits 9 as well. "Ah, Sasuke-kun is so cool. Marry me Sasuke. Look at Sasuke-kun go." The fangirls screamed out. "Alright, last up Naruto," Iruka says. Naruto walks up and throws one kunai out. A pulse of chakra from Mizuki causes it to move to the left and he completely misses. Everyone laughs, but Naruto releases ki, shutting them up. "Hey Iruka-sensei, can I restart?" Apparently Mizuki can't control his chakra and it interfered in my test. Mizuki agrees because he also felt the chakra pulse Naruto throws at kunai and shuriken and hits all 10. He cheated. Yeah, there's no way he is better than my Sasuke-kun. Your Sasuke-kun, he belongs to me. No me. Shut up. Iruka yells with his big head jutsu. Now everyone inside for the genjutsu portion of the test. You have to break out of AD rank genjutsu, then we move on to the final part of the test. However, Mizuki will be doing the genjutsu while I grade them. However, I will be in charge of the ninjutsu portion. He says. Everybody breaks out of the genjutsu portion until it's Naruto's turn. Mizuki goes through hand signs for an B rank genjutsu, however Naruto still breaks out of it faster than most did on AD rank genjutsu. Iruka, not knowing it was B rank genjutsu, past Naruto, missing the smug look Naruto gave Mizuki for knowing what he did. "Alright class, everybody wait here and I will call your names for the ninjutsu portion and determine if you passed or not," he explains. After the ninjutsu portion is over, Naruto will put his plan into motion to get Anko and Iruka together. After a while, all of the class had taken the test except Naruto, which baffles him how Ino took hers before him and her last name begins with the letter Y, but he doesn't dwell on it. So after Ino comes in, it's finally his turn. "Okay Naruto, for this I need you to perform the substitution jutsu, the Henjin, make at least 3 clones." Naruto shocks them by doing the first 2 without hand signs, substituting himself with Mizuki's chair, causing him to fall and switching back, making the chair fall on his face. He then hanged into Shisui even with the Sharingan activated when he released the henge. Iruka noticed the sad look in his eyes and realized Shisui was the person Naruto cared about the most in the Uchiha clan. "Okay Naruto, I need you to make at least 3 clones for me." Naruto nods and uses the one-hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 perfect copies of Naruto appear and Iruka has his jaw on the floor but recovers from his shock. "I'm sorry Naruto, but we can't pass you since you have to make a regular clone," Mizuki says with a smirk. However, that smirk goes away when Iruka speaks. "What are you talking about Mizuki? Of course if he passes he could have used an elemental clone if he wanted to. All the test said was to create 3 clones, it never mentioned what kind." "Congratulations Naruto, you passed." He hands him his headband with a smile. "Shisui would be proud of you Naruto," he thought to himself. Meanwhile, Mizuki had to come up with another plan to get the forbidden scroll to take to his master. Naruto puts the headband in his pocket and slips a piece of paper into Iruka's pocket before leaving. Hokage Monument at the top, 8 p.m. Don't be late, dress nice. Iruka only looks at the note before burning it and wondering why he should go, but trusts Naruto and walks back to the classroom. Naruto enters and Kiba has to open his big mouth. "Ha, I guess the loser couldn't pass a simple exam, what a idiot," he says, causing everybody to laugh at Naruto except Shikamaru and Choji, who can see the headband in his pocket, and a certain pale lavender-eyed Hyuga who watches him from afar. Iruka enters and shuts everyone up with his big head jutsu. "Congratulations to everyone that passed the test. Tomorrow will be Te Amendments in the morning at 8 a.m. However, before Iruka can finish, Naruto leaves. "Well, once again congratulations and good luck in your ninja careers," he says as he goes home, having 3 hours to get ready. Naruto arrives at Anko's house with a black dress she left at his house that showed off her womanly figure that would have made any man pass out with a nosebleed, but Naruto didn't mind, he only had eyes for one person. The dress went down to her knees and had a slit going down from the middle of her left thigh to her knee, showing off her leg, not in way but enough to tease the man she wore it for. Naruto remembers taking the dress off and taking care of it while staring at it with a sad smile, thinking she would never get to wear it. However, today was the day she would get her chance. Naruto hung the dress on the front of her bedroom door with the same note and vanished when he felt her chakra signature closing in on her apartment. She walked in, saw the note and wondered what he was up to, but decided to go anyway. At 8 p.m. Iruka arrived in a black suit with a red shirt that had left the top button unbuttoned. He finished with it off with red dress shoes that looked really expensive. As he was waiting, Anko arrived in her black dress with some black 6-inch heels that complemented the dress, and she has on purple lipstick and eyeshadow. She saw Iruka there and blushed at how handsome he looked since he had his hair down and Iruka had his jaw hanging open. He couldn't believe how beautiful she looked. She had Kurenai come over and do her hair for her. She has her hair down, which reached her mid-back, which was straight but at the end was curled up due to a curling iron. Hey Iruka, what are you doing here? She asks, looking away shyly with a blush on her face. Hey Anko, I was told to come here at 8 and it seems you got the same note. You look very beautiful. I mean, that's a nice dress. He responds. Thanks, why you don't look too bad yourself. She replies. Damn it Anko, get it together, you don't stutter, you're better than this. She thought to herself. They stood there in awkward silence between the two of them until somebody clearing their throat made them turn around. It was Naruto with his usual spiky black hair slicked back thanks to 15 jars of hair grease, and has on a waiter's outfit with a white towel on his left arm, standing next to a table with candles and some sake and wine glasses. Good evening Yumino-san, Mitarashi-san, welcome to the Hokage Monument Private Restaurant. My name is Naruto and I will be your server this evening. If you follow me to the table, I will go and grab your meals while you enjoy the sunset. He says. They both walk over to the table and Iruka pulls the chair out for Anko while Naruto pours them some sake. He leaves to get the food prepared for them. Wow, the sunset is so beautiful from up here. She says, gazing out at the view before her. Unaware of Iruka staring at her with a loving smile. Not as beautiful as you Anko. He says, making her blush and look away. However, he reaches over and grabs her hands, making her look at him. Anko, I have to be honest, you are the most beautiful girl I've ever met, and I have been wanting to tell you that since the academy, but I was too shy to say anything. When you went away with Orochimaru, I was happy but sad at the same time. Happy because you were living your dream of training to become one of the best kunoichi, but I am sad because I didn't know when I would see you again. When I heard Orochimaru was a criminal wanted for human experiments and killing multiple of our shinobi during the process, I begged Hokage-sama to go after you, but he couldn't let me go. So we made a deal that if I pass the Chunin exams in 6 months and impress the judges, he would promote me and personally place me in Anbu to look for you. I looked for you every mission I went on and had to give up 5 years ago because I couldn't find you. I retired from the Anbu and became an instructor at the academy. I was gonna walk away after the speech, but then I saw you standing with Naruto and I felt relieved that you were alive, and every time we talked I would want to tell you how I felt, but the nerves just got in my way. I guess what I'm trying to say is I love you Anko Mitarashi more than you can imagine. He finishes and looks at her. She has tears in her eyes and he reaches over to wipe them away. Why now? Why tell me this now? I thought when I returned you hated me like everyone else. You were one of my best friends. I thought you betrayed me like the rest did, avoided me and talk shit about me being the snake whore that nobody wants, just to use me for a quick and move on. I haven't been with anybody because that's not how I am, and it was hurting me that you weren't around, you weren't there for me. As I met Kurenai and Yugao, but it was too late by that time. I had already began not caring anymore and stopped taking shit from people. I wanted to kiss you so much when I see you again, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was mad at you, but my feelings for you caused me to act shy around you. So why tell me now? She asked. I honestly don't know why, I just feel like I can't hold in my true feelings for you anymore. That would be my doing. Naruto says as he returns with the food. I placed a seal on both of your chairs that makes you tell each other your true feelings. I got tired of watching you two stutter like some idiots around you, so I made this plan to get you guys together. Anko, you deserve happiness the most out of anybody in this village, and as my sister I couldn't let you live your life alone. I saw the look you had on your face when you showed me the dress when you tried it on. Iruka, I saw the look in your eyes every time I mentioned Anko around you, so I knew this had to be done. He says as he takes the seals of their chairs. Now before we get to the food, I have one more surprise for you, Anko. She gets a curious look on her face. I have finished studying Juinjutsu and mastered all levels to sealing levels by Konoha standards, and the first two of the Uzumaki sealing levels left behind by a woman who would have been my godmother. The reason I am telling you this is because when you were sleeping over my house, I took that time to study that curse seal on your neck. He says as she reaches up to her neck to cover the seal. What I've discovered about the seal is it has 3 layers. The first layer is one that feeds off nature energy, and it mixed with his own sinister chakra that gives a rush of power and acts like a drug that should be addicting. My guess is whoever he puts the curse mark on uses the power once and immediately get addicted to it, drawing them to him for training to get more power. The next layer is a mutation layer with DNA from all kinds of animals. My guess is you are supposed to transform temporarily into some kind of beast if you draw on enough power. The final layer contains what only I can say is a part of his soul. Why it's there I don't know, but I can destroy it. Even though it's a small portion of his soul, he will still feel pain like his insides are burning. There was also supposed to be a tracker seal on you. I'm so he can know where you are, but I guess he was in such a rush to finish this and messed up the tracker seal. The seal only causes you pain because you are resisting the power that is flowing through you. He says shockingly that he studied the seal without her knowing and found out all of that, while Jiraiya only found out about the nature chakra and Iruka because Naruto was a seal master even greater than Jiraiya. So what are you trying to say to me, Naruto? She says he knows she is serious because she never calls him that, it's always Naru-chan. What I'm saying is after your date I can remove it for you. The only downside is you will be in pain because of the nature chakra and his chakra being forcefully removed from you, and you will have severe chakra exhaustion and some of your organs will start to malfunction. Without a medic around, I have a medical seal that will repair your body after the seal is removed. Since I can't place it on you while I am removing the curse seal, so I will have to place a paralyzing seal on you so you can't move. I need you to be completely still and the pain will be excruciating, and I just wanted to check if you would want to go through that or want another suppression seal placed on it. If you want it removed, we have to go to the training ground we use, but Iruka will have to wait outside since he isn't allowed in the barrier that protects it from anybody not keyed into the barrier. I have everything set up there for the removal. But if you want the suppression seal, I can do it now. It's up to you, he says. She gets a thoughtful expression on her face taking all of this in. She can either go through excruciating pain and almost die to have it removed, or just get a suppression seal placed on it but still feel pain from the seal. Although a little, she makes up her mind. Naruto, what would happen to you during the seal removal? I know something will happen to you, so what is it? She asks. I'll only have chakra exhaustion, but due to the Kyuubi I should be good in the morning. Yes, I know about the Kyuubi Iruka, I've known for 7 years. He cuts Iruka off as he is about to speak up. On top of that, I'll just be sore in the morning, but I should be fine as the day goes on. You, however, Anko, will need to be on bed rest from the strain on your body for maybe 3 days. Oh, and your chakra control will be bad, maybe taking you down to Chunin level control, but that's only because your reserves are going to expand over the 3 days bed rest, so you will go from mid-Jonin reserves with high Jonin control to low Anbu level reserves with Chunin level control. He says. Okay, I want this shit off tonight. I'll have Yugao stay with me the next 3 days. She says she is happy that it will hurt like hell, but it's worth it, and if it's anybody she trusts the most with this, it's Naruto. Great. Naruto claps his hands once and clears his throat to put back on his waiter voice. He removed the lids on the plates of food. For the lovely young lady we have chicken katsu served with white rice and tonkatsu sauce with some gyoza on the side. He says. Thank you my good man, this looks divine. Anko says, playing along with Naruto in her own proper rich voice. Now for the gentleman, here we have Goya chanparu served with fried rice and on the side we have kale kobachi. He says. Uruka, deciding to play along with them, says. Thank you kind sir, I shall recommend this restaurant to the highest people possible. They all stare at each other before breaking out in laughter. Now for dessert I have prepared a triple chocolate cake served with ice cream. He says. He puts the dish on the table and sees Anko drooling at the sight of the cake and ice cream. She stands up and gives Naruto a big hug, which he returns. Thank you so much Naru-chan for doing this for me. She whispers to him. Uruka, seeing this, can't help but smile at this. Anko sits down and they begin eating and talking about missions and random stuff. It was now 10 p.m. and they were at the training field getting ready for the seal removal. Naruto gives her a t-shirt and some sweatpants and tells her he doesn't want her to ruin the dress after her fantastic date, so she goes into the woods and changes, placing her dress in a storage scroll. She come back ready but nervous until Uruka kisses her on the cheek and says she'll be fine. She blushes but walks to Naruto. She has a look on her face and nods at her, getting what he means. She rushes and gives Uruka a passionate kiss before running towards Naruto to being the removal. They reach the ceiling area. Uruka can't see inside, so he is worried for Anko but will trust Naruto if Anko does. Okay Anko, are you ready? Naruto asks as she nods. Okay, I need you to take your shirt off and lay on your stomach so I can get started. She does as told, and when she lays down she can't move anymore and she realizes it must be the paralysis seal. Naruto sighs and begins to rapidly go through about 50 hand signs and call out. Cursed seal removal. Seal obliteration. He channels a huge amount of chakra and touches her curse mark and she screams out in pain that she has tears coming from her eyes. This continues for 5 minutes but she passed out after 30 seconds of pain. The first 2 layers of the seal disappears and the third one turns into a small white snake that tries to slither away. He activates his Mangekyo Sharingan. Amaterasu. He sets the snake on fire, killing it, and then cancels the flames after letting them burn for an extra 10 minutes to be safe. In the hidden sound village, Orochimaru is on the ground screaming on the ground, writhing in pain. It feels like his body is burning from the inside out. He medic, a silver hair med teen wearing spectacles, was doing whatever he could to stop the pain but was having no luck. Naruto finished removing the seal and you can't even see that it was there. He removes the paralysis seal and Anko's body begins to go into shock and her breathing speeds up. Naruto hurries up and places the medical seal on her and after 10 minutes her breathing returns to normal. Although she is still passed out, he puts her shirt back on her and carries her to Uruka, who had a worried look on his face, but Naruto told her it was a success and that she was just sleeping and asked him to take her home so he can clean up. After all, he still had one more promise he needed to keep. After Uruka leaves, Naruto enters the barrier again after making sure to key in some of the Kyuubi chakra so the barrier security alarm doesn't go off. Naruto sits down and creates a clone with a paralysis seal for himself. The clone nods at what to do as he goes into his seal. Naruto's mindscape. Hello Kyuubi, are you ready for your freedom from this prison now? Of course I'm ready, although you took an extra 3 years, Kyuubi said with an eye twitch. Sorry about that, I learned to summon Kami, but that process of removal would take 5 hours and I know you want to be out as soon as possible, so I learned the first 2 levels of Uzumaki sealings. Since it covered sealing and unsealing tailed beasts, the process only takes about 30 seconds, but it will hurt like a bitch on my end. He says, rubbing the back of his head, reminding the Kyuubi of a certain blonde-haired Hokage. Wow, you've really outdone yourself, you came along farther than I expected. Kyuubi said, so do you deem me worthy of your respect in knowing your name? Naruto asks, oh, you've been worthy and had my respect since the death of your uncle. Before you interrupt me I will explain. Now the day he died and you awaken your Mangekyo Sharingan, a darkness formed inside of you that always comes with the awakening of the Mangekyo. When you read that letter and saw that the pedophile Danzo tried to kill your uncle for his eyes and was ultimately responsible for his death. You were thinking about getting revenge, causing that darkness to grow. However, when you read that he doesn't want you to go out looking for revenge and falling down the wrong path, when he mentioned your mother and Samui, how he wants you to grow up and have a family, you started to think about that Ichiraku family as well as Anko and the old monkey. You made your resolve right then and there, and the darkness that was forming in you completely disappeared. From then on, I had given you my respect and deemed you worthy of knowing my name and something else. However, that will have to wait until I am free. The Kyuubi says. Well, alright, let's get this party started then. I'll see you on the outside, my friend. He says and disappears from his mindscape. Once outside, Naruto begins going through 100 hand seals at the speed of an mid-level Anbu. Uzumaki sealing. Tailed beast removal. He then laid down on his back and had the clone place the paralysis seal in him before dispersing itself. 5 seconds later, all Naruto could feel was pain from the Kyuubi being freed from the seal. 30 seconds later, the Kyuubi was outstanding at all its might. Naruto was thankful for the seal around the training ground, or everybody would have felt the Kyuubi chakra and then seen it standing there. The paralysis seal wore off and Naruto was in pain all over his body. Ah, it's good to be free. Now for my 2 gifts. The first is, you may have noticed the seal still in place now. Within that, I've left all but 1% of my chakra in there for you to use. But I would recommend not touching it yet. In order for you to use it, you must separate the hated within the chakra. When you separate it, you need to lock it back up and let it regenerate before you can take the rest. Once you separate it, you will gain a chakra cloak that is a yellowish orange color. When you do that, you will be faster than you can ever imagine and will be able to use the tailed beast bomb, but I would have to train you for that. You will also be able to create chakra arms. However, once the chakra regenerates that you resealed, you should go and absorb that as well, and everything I just described to you will be enhanced by 100. Now on to the second gift. I left you the same healing ability that I have, which will be able to get passed down to your kids if you have some. Now your third and final gift from me will be this. A scroll almost the same height as Naruto appeared before him. What is this? He asks. This is the fox summoning contract. I've been keeping any eye on you from both inside and outside the seal with my little helpers. The Kyuubi motions to the 3 foxes coming out of the forest that Naruto always played with. One was all black with a red patch on its chest. The second one had the orange fur, but its paws were covered in white fur and the tips of its 3 tails were white as well. And the final one, the one that always climbed into Naruto's lap to sleep, was still small enough to sleep in his lap and had red fur with a white patch on its chest and its eyes were silver. These are 3 summons that I had watch you and saw your progress. Although I gave you my respect and found you worthy of knowing my name, it is up to them if they find you worthy of the fox contract. So do you 3 find him worthy of signing the fox contract? After 3 nods of the heads, the scroll unrolls and the Kyuubi tells Naruto to prick his fingers and sign with blood and make sure he has blood on all of his fingertips and make his hand print. Naruto does as told and the scroll then disappears. So now what? He asks. Now you must try to summon the boss of the foxes. Your chakra should be replenished by now to do it. The Kyuubi says. Naruto nods, pricks his thumb and goes through hand signs. Summoning jutsu. Nothing happens. Naruto's eye twitches and he tries 3 more times. What the am I doing wrong? He yells. Meanwhile, the foxes, including the smallest one, is laughing at him. Oh, you're not doing anything wrong, I'm already here. The Kyuubi says, causing the foxes to laugh even harder. Naruto's eyes begin to twitch a dangerous level, making him look like he should be locked in a cell. Okay, enough of the jokes. The foxes that are currently with you don't talk. However, the smallest one will be able to talk as she grows a little bit more. She will become your personal summons. However, you must name her. The other 2 are both messenger foxes. However, the black fox prefers to work at night while the orange fox prefers to work during the day. Now Kurama, the strongest of the tailed beasts and boss of the fox, summons, hereby welcoming Naruto Uchiha as the first person worthy of signing the fox contract. Now name your personal summons so she may return home. Kurama says. Naruto thinks of a name and finally decides. He looks at the fox kid who is staring at him waiting for a name. Scarlet will be her name. Naruto says, getting a happy yip from the fox who starts to run around Naruto. While this is going on, Kurama notices the same small lizard creature with wings that was watching Naruto before. It makes eye contact with Kurama before looking at Naruto and back to Kurama as if asking a question without speaking. Kurama nods and the creature disappears in a poof of smoke. So they want him as a summoner as well. That is interesting, but they have my blessing to give him the contract. Kurama thought. Well, I better get going. I only have a few hours left before I have to be at the academy for amendments and my body hurt. He gets a chuckle from Kurama, who nods and disappears along with the other three foxes. Naruto collects everything and shunshuns to his house. He decides to sleep on the couch, too tired to move to his bed. He wakes up the next morning at 7:30, so he showers and puts on his outfit. It's the same thing Shisui wore, except Naruto's didn't have the high collar or the Uchiha clan symbol. He simply refused to wear it, and he didn't have a sword on his back. His headband was on his forehead, brushing the bangs out of his eyes, but he had two of them going down the side of his face. He walked to the academy, ignoring the stares and glances towards him, and he made it to the academy. 45 minutes, gets to the classroom, and of course Kiba speaks up. Hey loser. This is for people who graduated, now get lost. Causing everybody to laugh at Naruto. Yeah, Naruto baka, you failed yesterday. Only one Uchiha passed and the best one at that, so leave. Said the pink-haired bit, I mean Sakura. Yeah, Naruto, are you that dumb to forget that only people with a headband are allowed? I know your mother did something dumb, but that doesn't mean you should follow in her footsteps. Yelled the blonde, but I mean Ino, causing the other kids to laugh even harder. Before Iruka could respond, Naruto spoke in a calm voice that reminded Sasuke of his brother, which pissed him off. You idiots clearly didn't learn from the last time somebody insulted my mother. I guess Kiba wasn't much of an example when he was put into the hospital by one punch. So clearly I need to make another example out of somebody, preferably you, Ino. Perhaps you would like to be sent to the hospital by Iruka-sensei next. How about it? What about you, Sakura? You're a ninja now, although a pathetic one. You're even weaker than you were when you came into the academy. You and Ino are both at the same skill level that can barely be considered academy level. For your information, I passed yesterday, just didn't put my headband on. Now shut the up, you good for nothing fangirls, and Kiba, stop acting tough or I'll simply tell your mom and sister. Let's see if you act like this around them. He turns to Iruka. Sorry I'm late, Iruka-sensei. It's okay, mind telling me why you were late? He knew why he was late, but he had to act like he didn't. Yes, I was getting some last-minute training last night and overdid it. My body is still sore. He says and gets a nod from Iruka. However, Ino and Sakura decided to speak, but each were interrupted by a kunai landing as it was near their heads. Shut up, Naruto said with a cold glare. Okay, yes, as you've heard, Naruto did in fact pass yesterday. Why he didn't put his headband on, I don't know. Now, before the team's errand, I have to announce Rookie of the Year, Kunoichi of the Year, and the dead last. Rookie of the Year is Sasuke Uchiha. Immediately squeals and cheers were heard from his fangirls. Kunoichi of the Year belongs to Sakura Haruno. She screams. I don't know why you're happy. You only got it because the academics and your mother inged some of the teachers to boost your physical grades. The real Kunoichi of the Year should be Hinata. Naruto says. Shut up, you baka, I'm better than her, she screams at Naruto. That's enough, Naruto. Sakura is Kunoichi of the Year, and that's final. Even if what you said is true. He mumbled that last part under his breath, but Naruto heard him and smirked at Iruka, who smirked back at him. Now dead last belongs to Kiba Inuzuka. He said. How am I the dead last? That loser slept through basically every single lesson. He said, pointing at Naruto. Yes, Naruto did sleep through the lessons, however all his grades were higher than yours. In fact, I don't even think he was trying. And he finished first in all the physical tests, however his written test scores kept him in the middle of the class. He said. Now Team 1. Teams 1 through 6 are pointless. Team 7, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and he was cut off by Sakura yelling. Yes, take that, Ino pig, true love prevails. Sakura, shut up. Now, as I was saying, Team 7 Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno and Naruto Uchiha your squad leader is. He finishes and looked at Naruto whose eye was twitching. What the GG I had stayed in the middle to avoid being on a team with them. Okay, you wanna put me on their team, alright fine, get ready for a whole lot of paperwork, he thought to himself before he started chuckling like a madman, and somehow lightning started to appear and crackle behind him, scaring everybody near him, causing them to back away except Shikamaru and Choji, who was used to it and knew what was coming. Meanwhile, all the Jonin waiting for the teams to finish being named all looked at Hiruzen, who was crying, saying sorry over and over again. Pops, you alright? Asked a beard Jonin his Sumasuma Sarutobi. No, I'm not okay. Would one of you mind being my stand-in for tomorrow? He asked, and they all shook their head, making him cry some more. Back with Iruka after Naruto finally calmed down, he continued. Team 8 is Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga and Kiba. Team 9 is still in rotation, so Team 10 Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi. Why do I have to get stuck with fatty and lazy bones? Ino said. I am not fat. Choji yells and would have done something if Shikamaru didn't hold him down with his shadow possession. Inwardly he was thinking what Ino's problem was. Out of everybody she should know better than to call Choji fat. Don't worry Choji, she isn't much of a ninja and dresses like a prostitute anyway. I'm sure if you get the urge to have some release she would spread her legs for you. Of course you would have to pay, since the only person she would open her legs for free is her precious Sasuke over there, so just make sure you use protection. We don't need any more of her kind running around. Same goes for you Shikamaru, if you pay her enough she might let you both in at the same time. Naruto said. Sticking up for his friend made Ino cry. Naruto, that's enough, it wasn't called for. Iruka said. Neither was her calling Choji fat and Shikamaru lazy, yet she still did it. I was only sticking up for my friend. Now tell us who our Jonin sensei will be. I have to go check on Anko ne. He said, pissed off. Oh, alright. Team 7 Jonin sensei is Kakashi Hatake. Team 8 Kurenai Yuhi. Team 10 is Under Asuma will be here at 12 to pick you up, so you have the next 3 hours to yourself. He says. Naruto just shunshes out of there, surprising everybody in the classroom that he could do that. Naruto arrives at Anko's house and uses his key to enter her apartment. She gave him a key to check on her house when she was out on missions. He walks to her room and sees her still sleeping and can sense an Anbu who he recognizes as Cat in the room, but in the shadows however her chakra is fluctuating like she is pissed. He walks over to where he senses her at and stops, but doesn't take his eyes off Anko. What happened? He asks. Some rude Anbu tried to kill her, but I killed 2 of them and 1 got away. Coincidentally I get a message from the Hokage stating that I have a 2-day mission and the amount of time Anko still needs to recover. Something is not right. The message had his official stamp on it. She says as she hands him the note he read as, and also gets curious because as far as he knows the Hokage knew Anko needed some rest, he just didn't know why, and Naruto personally asked him Toin Yugao to watch over her. I'll be back. He shunshes to the Hokage office with the letter in hand. Yo Gigi, why did Yuin cat a mission if she was supposed to be on Anko guard duty for the next 3 days? He asked, showing him the letter. Naruto, I didn't assign her any mission, this is a fake letter. This mission was from last year and was completed by a squad of Jonin. He replies. Okay, I'll tell Kat once I go back to check on Anko. Another thing, can you tell Hayate to pack him and Kat some clothes to stay at Anko's house until she is better? He gets a nod in return and begins to leave, however he gets a mischievous grin on his face, scares the old man, causing him to sweat a little bit. Naruto does one hand sign. Why jutsu? He transforms into a slender lady with long black hair tied into a ponytail with breasts that are DD and wide hips complementing her shapely and long slender legs, much to the dismay of the old perverted Hokage. Smoke surrounding her upper and lower body parts, but it still causes him to pass out from a nosebleed. Naruto takes out a camera and takes pictures of him before he wakes up. Naruto, I am labeling that an A- rank kinjutsu, never use it again. He says while wiping his nose. Well, you may want to add my harem and reverse harem jutsu to that scroll of yours as well, label them S-ranked kinjutsus. He says he gets a blank look from the Hokage. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Harem Jutsu. What happens next makes the Hokage pass out again with a much bigger nosebleed standing in front of him, however much to his disappointment again smoke is covering their upper and lower body parts. Naruto one again pulls out his camera and takes pictures. The Hokage wakes up and immediately puts them big in the scroll as A and S ranked kinjutsus. He calls for Mina, his secretary, who falls victim to the reverse harem jutsu. Now this shocked Hiruzen because Mina was a woman who openly hated perverts and did not like that kind of thing. So Hiruzen made it an SS ranked kinjutsu since it works on someone who isn't a pervert. Okay, Naruto never use those again. Hiruzen says. Alright, by the way, why wasn't Mizuki at Teamenments this morning? He asked. Oh, he was caught trying to steal the forbidden scroll and Ibiki had his way with him, too bad Anko missed out on it. But it turns out he was working for my former student Orochimaru, who gave him the curse seal. He was going to take him the forbidden scroll to join his ranks, but he won't be doing anything since he was executed. Hiruzen said. Oh well, later, and don't forget about Hayate. He says and vanishes from the office back to Anko's house. The letter was a fake, but I asked him to send Hayate over later with some clothes for you two to stay here overnight with her for the next couple days until she wakes up. Oh yeah, I have these for Hayate. It's medical seals that won't get rid of his sickness, however it will stop the pain and his coughs as well. As he hands her about 100 seals. All he has to do is place them on his chest and the seal will instantly activate, but he has to change them once every month. He tells her before heading back to the academy. He returns to the classroom seeing Kiba trying to talk up Hinata, who isn't paying attention to him. Shikamaru is sleeping. Choji is eating a bag of chips. Shino is sitting by himself. Quietly he looks at Naruto and give him a nod, who nods back, and then he finally sees Sasuke being hounded by his two most loyal fan girls who are arguing about who will marry him and have his babies. He shakes his head and sits next to Choji, who offers him a bag of chips. Even after what I said to her earlier, she still fawns over him. Oh well, it can't be helped. He says. They wait for about 10 more minutes before the Jonin senseis arrive. The first 6 teams left, then 5 minutes later Asuma and Kurenai arrive at the same time, pick up teams 8 and 10. However, Naruto notices Kurenai has a slight limp and gives her a knowing smirk that he picked up from Anko, and in return Kurenai gives him a glare that's basically tells him to shut up or die. He simply smiles at her and she leaves with her team, leaving him alone with Sasuke and Sakura, who is still pestering Sasuke about something. He falls asleep and wakes up 3 hours later when Kakashi decides to show up and Sakura shouts, "You're late. My first impression is that you're all idiots. Meet me on the roof." In 5 minutes he disappears in a puff of smoke and they go to the roof. Now introduce yourselves, your likes, dislikes and dreams. Kakashi says. Sensei, can you go first so we know it's done? Sakura says. Are you kidding me? She was supposed to be the kunoichi of the year. Naruto thought. Oh okay, well my name is Kakashi Hatake. I have a few likes and some dislikes as well. My dreams for the future, well I don't feel like telling you. All he said was his name. Sakura thought. Okay Pinky, you first. Kakashi says, pointing at Sakura. My name is Sakura Haruno. What I like, I mean the person I like is. She looks at Sasuke and squeals. My dream for the future. She looks at Sasuke again and blushes with a squeal. Okay, your dislikes. Kakashi asks. Naruto Baka and Ino Pig. Okay, you next, the brooding one. He points at Sasuke. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I have no likes or dislikes. I don't have a dream because what I have I will make a reality, that is to restore my clan and destroy a certain someone. He says with a dark look on his face. Sasuke-kun is so cool, Sakura thought. Just as I expected. Kakashi thought. Dude, Itachi would kill you multiple times over before you would even blink. Naruto thought. Okay, last one. Kakashi said, uninterested in what he has to say, unlike he was with Sasuke, something Naruto picked up on. My name's is Naruto. I like my precious people. I dislike child abusers, rapists and pedophiles. My dream is to find somebody that was taken away from me as a child, become Hokage and start a family. he said. However, nobody was paying attention to him, but he didn't really care. Alright, meet me training ground 7 for your graduation exam at 7 a.m. Kakashi says. Wait, I thought we were already genin. Sakura said. No, that was just a genin hopeful exam. This test tomorrow is the real one and 66% of the teams never make it. So I'll see you tomorrow at training ground 7 at 7 a.m. Oh, and I suggest you don't eat breakfast, you'll throw up. He vanishes in a puff of smoke. Sakura once again asks Sasuke on a date, yet he refuses and she turned blame Naruto, but he left as well. So she decided to do what she usually does. She goes to stalk Sasuke well, watching over him from afar is what she calls it. Next day Naruto wakes up at 8:30 and eats breakfast. He left at 9:45 via Shunshin. He arrived at training ground 7 where Sakura yelled at him. You're late. Kakashi-sensei said to be here by 7, it's almost 10 Yubaka. She swings her fist at him, but he just leans back and she falls on her face and starts to complain about her dress being ruined. 10 minutes later Kakashi arrived. Yo, you're late. Sorry, I was on my way when a black cat crossed my path, so I had to go the long way around. Liar. I bet I know that cat, Naruto thought. Anyway, you have until noon to get these bells. Kakashi said as he pulled out 2 bells and a timer. But wait, Kakashi-sensei, there's only 2 bells and 3 of us. Sakura replies. Quite observant of you, Sakura. The one who doesn't get the bell gets sent back to the academy. He says. I can't afford to not be on a team with Sasuke-kun. I need to get those bells for us. Then he will love me and ask me to marry him. Sakura thought. I need those bells, I have to pass in order to kill him, our resident emo thought. I wonder what Samui is up to right now. I know she's still alive out there. I can't feel it. I hope she's taking care of herself. Naruto thought. After the 2 bells are collected, whoever has them can eat these bento boxes. Kakashi shows 2 bento boxes and 2 out of the 3 stomachs growled and they looked at Naruto, who was lost in thoughts until Sakura yelled in his ear. Hey Baka, which resulted in her getting back-handed to the ground. Will you stop yelling? Damn it, it's not necessary. What are you looking at me for? He says. You ate breakfast. Kakashi stated. Yeah, and what's the ing problem, Cyclops? He said, still pissed at Sakura for yelling in his ear. I thought I told you not to eat breakfast. No, you made a suggestion. If I suggested you go make out with that green spandex wearing freak, would you listen? No, you wouldn't, so let's continue. I need to get my ear checked. Which was a lie. He wanted to check on Anko and see how she was doing, but they didn't need to know that. I guess I wouldn't listen to your suggestion. Okay, you have 2 hours, time starts now. All 3 of them vanished. Let's see. Sakura is in the bushes to my left. Sasuke is in a tree about 50 meters out and Naruto is. Wait a minute. Where is Naruto? I can't sense him or smell him. Kakashi thought. He pulled out a certain orange book and began walking through the forest. Okay, I have wires set up that should wrap him up and I'll be able to grab the bells and give one to Sasuke. She said out loud, not even noticing Kakashi right behind her. Pissed Sakura. She turns around and Kakashi puts her in AD rank genjutsu that she should break out of easily. Inside the genjutsu, Sakura is walking in the middle of the forest looking around. Sakura. She turns around and sees Sasuke, but he has multiple kunai stabbed in his back. Help me. Sasuke says and collapses and Sakura screams. Back in the real world. Sakura screams and passes out. Kakashi shakes his head at her and leaves to find Sasuke and see what he can do. Sasuke is walking through the forest when he hears Sakura scream. Kakashi must have gotten to her already. Shinobi Battle Skill Lesson 2. The illusion skill. Sakura learned that in the academy and was said to be the best at breaking them, but I guess I was wrong. That won't work on me. I'm far better than her and Naruto. Say that after you get a bell. Alright, Sasuke. Kakashi and Sasuke stand off before Sasuke throws some shuriken at him, which Kakashi dodged. Sasuke threw a kunai at a rope that Kakashi didn't see and it released more kunai that shot out of the trap at Kakashi. Sasuke took the time Kakashi was focused on dodging and appeared behind him going for a heel kick to the side of his head which Kakashi blocked and grabbed his ankle so Sasuke tried a right hook to the face which Kakashi blocked with his hand. Sasuke used this opening to throw an overhead kick with his right leg causing Kakashi to drop Sasuke's fist to block the kick with his forearm. Sasuke seeing this reaches out and touches one of the bells before Kakashi jumps back. Sasuke beings going through hand signs shocking Kakashi that he can use a jutsu. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. He shoots out a ball of fire towards Kakashi and after a few seconds releases the jutsu and Kakashi is gone. He looks left, right and behind but doesn't see him. Earth style. Headhunter jutsu. A hand comes out of the ground, pulls Sasuke into the ground leaving his head visible. Shinobi skill number 3 ninjutsu. You were right or different than the others but different doesn't mean better. With that Kakashi walked away. Looking for Naruto he finds him at the memorial stone criticizing the food he brought. I mean seriously, this food looks like it was taken straight out of a box. It's dry as hell and has no nutrients. Why not just give us a piece of cardboard to eat? Kakashi. And what is in this one? Chicken teriyaki. It looks like dog food on top of mush. Naruto says he closes the food and sees because Kakashi was behind him. What do you want? Naruto asks. You're in the middle of a test and you have 10 minutes left and you haven't even tried to get a bell. Kakashi states. Oh okay, well can I have a bell? No. Oh well, I tried. Naruto, you need to actually try. Why this whole test is farce? We both know the elders and council pressured you into taking a team with Sasuke so you can train him to use his Sharingan when he unlocks it, and you aren't a Sannin so you can't take an apprentice, so even if we fail the council will reverse the decision somehow and pass us by. I did help. I released Sakura from that pathetic genjutsu you put her. Now I believe the test is about over with and I will let you tie me to the post. A couple minutes later they are all sitting down while Naruto is tied to the post. Kakashi tells them they all fail because they couldn't look underneath and says the actual goal of the test was teamwork. Sasuke attacks Kakashi but Kakashi moves faster than he can see and pins him to the ground. You are all little kids, you wouldn't last long in the shinobi world. For instance, Sakura kill Naruto or Sasuke dies. He says putting a kunai on his neck. Sakura freezes up and Kakashi gets off Sasuke and tells them about the memorial stone having the names written off all or most shinobi who have died in battle or protecting the Leaf Village in some kind of way. Now I will give you all a second chance. Sasuke, Sakura, you can have a bento box but Naruto doesn't get any. With that he vanishes but Naruto can sense him in the trees in front of them. Sasuke and Sakura have an internal debate if they should feed Naruto. In the end Sasuke offers Naruto some food and Sakura, wanting to impress Sasuke, does the same. Kakashi appears angrily. I thought I said you couldn't feed Naruto any food. You disobeyed my orders. Do you have anything to say for yourselves? We're a team and we need him to be at full strength to take you on, so if it means failing then so be it, Sasuke said. Yeah, we're a team and we stick together. You fail one of us, you fail all of us. Naruto nods while inwardly waiting for this to be over. Well, if the case then you all pass. Kakashi says, confusing Sakura and Sasuke. You pass. Remember these words, those who abandon their mission are scum, however those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. With that he left to report his team passing. Sasuke left and Sakura followed him. Naruto activated his Mangekyo to Kamui out of the rope he left to begin training. Kakashi arrived as soon as the Jonin for Team 6 failed his team. Team 7 passed. He said everyone looked at him. Explain. Was all Hiruzen said. Well, Sakura is pathetic. She couldn't break out of AD rank genjutsu and was more worried about Sasuke than anything. Sasuke is at a high genin level. Maybe low chunin. He actually forced me to try a tad bit and managed to touch one of the bells. Naruto on the other hand didn't even try. I mean, he asked for a bell and I told him no and he didn't care. He actually spent most of the time criticizing my food, saying he might as well eat cardboard. That causes Kurenai to start laughing. What's so funny? Of course Naruto would criticize your food he was taught to cook by the Ichirakus, and we all know how seriously they take food preparation. I've actually had some of Naruto's food before at Ichiraku's. It's actually really good, she says, and everybody nods at that explanation. They all knew how the Ichirakus were when it came to food. They were almost as bad as in Akamichi. Team 8 passed as well. Hokage Sama Shino was the leader who came up with a plan of him trapping me with his bugs, and Hinata close my Tenketsu points and Kiba give the finishing blow, although Kiba tried to protest with a plan that made absolutely no sense until Hinata agreed with Shino's plan and Kiba reluctantly agreed. Shino is around the same level as Sasuke, however he relies on his bugs too much and would be a sitting duck in a taijutsu fight, so I would have to fix that. Hinata should be mid-chunin for how long she has been training in taijutsu by the clan head, but her confidence issues puts her around mid-genin, and Kiba is high-genin low chunin. He is just a horny little boy who hits on any female moving. I would need to fix that as well. Kurenai said. Team 10 passes. Ino is just like Sakura, which baffles me since she is the heir to the Yamanaka clan. However Choji and Shikamaru are both high-genin level. Asuma says. Alright, you are dismissed and good luck. Hiruzen said. All Jonin left the office, leaving him with his book until Mina walked in with a smile and 6 stacks of paperwork on a cart behind her. The Hokage starts to cry and wishes he never retook the seat. Meanwhile Naruto stopped at Ichiraku's and talked to them for about 20 minutes while eating some ramen before getting the Anko special for takeout, which included 20 sticks of dango and an extra large bowl of red bean soup with a bottle of sake on the side. He pays and says goodbye and starts to make his way to Anko's apartment when feels a chakra signature following him, so he goes into an alley and suppresses his chakra and jumps to the roof. To his surprise, it's Hinata that is following him and looks confused that he disappeared from her sight. You've gotta be kidding me. I have a fangirl and she actually stalks me. Sheesh, this reminds of Sakura and Ino stalking Sasuke. He thought as he watched her leave. He shunshuns to Anko's apartment. He unlocks the door, and to his shock and surprise Kurenai is there, as well as Hana, Iruka, and Hiruzen with Yugao in her normal clothes. However, what gets him is Anko is awake and on the couch with them. She sees Naruto and rushes to him and grabs in bone-crushing hug, thanking him over and over again. Hiruzen decides to speak up. Okay, what's going on? Why did you need us all here, Anko? Why are you here, Gigi? Don't you have paperwork to do? Naruto asks. I'm just a shadow clone. The original me is still at the office. Once I disperse, he will get my memories. The clone said. So let me get this straight. You send a shadow clone to do something for you if you need to be in 2 different places. He gets a nod, yet you don't use the shadow clones to help you with your paperwork. All he gets is a blank look from the clone before it dispersed. Few seconds later, you can hear the Hokage scream across the entire village. Fuck. Hiruzen then appears at Anko's apartment before he can knock. Naruto opens the door looking at him with a smug smile. You knew, didn't you? He asks Naruto, who nods happily. So why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask, Naruto said, making everyone laugh. Okay, why is everyone here, Anko? Kurenai asks. Well, first things first, I have a boyfriend. She says and kisses Iruka on the lips. Kurenai, Yugao and Hana squeals happily for their friend. Now the actual reason is this look. She puts her hair up in her high ponytail and pulls down her shirt by her left shoulder. Everybody minus Iruka and Naruto wonder what's so special about the shoulder. I don't get what's so great about your shoulder that you had to call us all over here. Hana asked. What's missing from my shoulder? Yugao notices and says, no way, but how? How, what, Yugao? Kurenai asks. Her cursed seal is gone. Yugao says, shocking everyone. Anko then explains what happened 2 nights ago about her meeting up with Iruka because of Naruto and the removal of the cursed seal. She was done. She looks at Naruto and notices he has a takeout bag. What's in the bag, Naru-chan? Your lunch. Nope, this is 1 Anko special from Ichiraku ramen, 20 sticks of dango, an extra large bowl of red bean soup and 1 bottle of sake. He says, handing it to her, and she eats like it's not tomorrow. After hanging around a few more hours, Naruto and everyone get ready to leave. As Kurenai leaves, Naruto calls out to her. It's been 2 months since Naruto wasned to this genin team and he hated it. Not the D-rank missions because money was money, and also it was them helping a lot of old people he has helped before, so imagine the look on everyone's face when they found out he was never lying about why he was late. His favorite mission had to easily be the Tora mission. To his surprise, this was the same cat that always crossed his path. So when he saw Tora, they had a good old Texas standoff which lasted for about 10 minutes until they rushed at each other. Everyone thinks this was going to be another genin that gets scratched up, but to their shock and horror a field of flowers appear and they begin running in slow motion until the end where Tora hops in his arms and Naruto gushes over Tora. "Oh Tora, you mischievous little cat, I missed you stealing my bentos and our 3-hour chases," he cries. Anime tears while hugging the cat, causing it to purr in happiness. However, what gets them is the shout of "youth" in the back, causing the sun to shine brighter. The result, an entire block of people passed out along the street. It has happened 3 times already, and the genjutsu was placed in the Forbidden Scroll next to Might Guy and Rock Lee Sunset Genjutsu. However, the combination of the genjutsu were labeled SS rank in the Forbidden Scroll. However, what did piss Naruto off was his sensei's complete show of favoritism these 2 months. Although Naruto didn't need the help, the man could have at least tried to help him or Sakura. However, he didn't, and after the first 2 months Naruto doesn't even call him sensei anymore. He sees the private lessons he gives Sasuke, and well, he was less than impressed by Sasuke's development. He could only guess that Sasuke would only begin copying jutsus with his Sharingan when he finally awakens it. That's another thing, Naruto has yet shown them any skills really, or that he has his Sharingan. Now here we find Team 7 returning from another D-rank mission, Naruto's favorite, the Tora mission. "Yo old man, we're back from the mission," Naruto says as he is petting Tora. "Baka, show the Hokage some respect," Sakura says and gets ready to swing at Naruto, but Tora hissed at her with claws out and she backed off. Hiruzen chuckles at Naruto. "It's quite alright, Sakura. I allow Naruto to call me that because he is like a grandson to me." Now Tora rescue mission is complete, he says, and walks in a fat lady who they also recognize as the Fire Daimyo wife. She grabs Tora and begins to squeeze the life out of her. "Oh Tora, mommy has missed you so much, you need to stop running away from me," she says, hugging the cat to death. "That's right, squeeze that little demon cat till she pops," Sakura thought. If she keeps this up, no more Tora missions, which means no more daimyo breathing down my neck about the stupid cat, thought the Sandame. HN, thought our resident brooder. Why hasn't Sasuke unlocked his Sharingan yet? Actually, I think already has during the massacre, but can't reactivate it yet, Kakashi thought. Everyone was cut from their thoughts by Naruto. "What the hell are you doing?" he says as he grabs Tora from the lady. "Young man, do you know who I am? I am the daimyo's wife. I demand you show me some respect when speaking to me," she says with a rich snobby voice. "Respect is earned, not given, fat, and you were about to kill Tora if you kept squeezing her. I'm sure she hasn't been taken to the vet to check for injuries. Perhaps the way you squeeze the cat is why the daimyo always pulls out while having with you. You would just kill the damn baby from squeezing it to death. Now you wait here, I'm taking Tora to the vet." He vanishes to the Inuzuka compound and sees Hana. "Hey Hana, can you do a checkup on Tora for me?" he asks. "Sure, set her down on the table for me." He does, and her hand is surrounded by medical chakra. After 5 minutes her hand turns to normal. Well, all her ribs are bruised and her spine is slightly bruised and out of place a little bit. But minor surgery and 1 month of rest should do wonders for her, she says, but Tora screeches at the sound of that. "No need, I'll just place an animal medical seal on her. She should be fully healed in about 10 minutes. Shocking Hana. "Is it possible that I can have some of those? I can really use them for our Ninken after missions," she asks. "Sure, they don't work on broken bones though, I've tried it and it didn't work. I'm the reason you have less stray animals that get cuts and bruises, freeing you up for more major injuries and have more free time. They all come to me and only go to you if a bone is broken." I've even set up a compartment at my complex where they don't have to walk up the steps to my apartment. They just go and lay on the seal in a cubby and it automatically puts the seal in them. The compartment holds 5 animals up to the size of your mother's partner. He says as he unseals a large scroll from his wrist. He pulls and unseals a tag and places it on Tora, who cures at the feeling of the medical chakra going into her system. He gives the large scroll to Hannah. Inside of the scroll is about 200 medical tags and the instructions on how to make them. Don't worry about adding chakra to seal other than to complete it, since it converts nature chakra into medical chakra using the correct dosage. I'll come by and build the compartment another time, or just request it from the Hokage if I'm busy. Well, I have to get back to the mission room to finish yelling at the daimyo's wife, so I'll see you around. Oh, and just between us. He means toward her ear and whispers. If I wasn't waiting to find my certain girl, I would've. Naruto arrives back at the mission office with Tora in his arms, glaring at the lady. Now let me tell you how much you are hurting Tora. All of her ribs were bruised and her spine was bruised and slightly out of place. Now I had her fixed up, so I'm not gonna take her from you, believe it or not. Tora likes the palace, however she hates when you squeeze her. It hurts. You are too damn big for that, and stop dressing her up. I've seen the pictures, the outfits are horrible, and please get her a male cat. She only leaves the palace when she is in heat, but sadly all the cats in the village are slobs. He says. So what are you telling me? She asks. Are you ing stupid? I just told you stop squeezing her, pet her gently like I do, stop dressing her up in those dumbass outfits, and get her a male cat so she can get laid. You do all that and you don't have to worry about her running away. She says okay and pays quadruple the amount for the mission. I like him, Hiruzen. Not many have the courage to talk to me like that. I'll keep an eye on you and give a word to the fire daimyo. You may get a recruitment letter if you ever take the Chunin exams and can fight as good as you talk. With that she bows and gently takes Tora, wags her tail goodbye at Naruto. Everyone minus Sasuke is looking at Naruto in shock that he just got away with talking by the fire daimyo's wife like that. And put an end to the Tora missions for good. The 2 Chunin who were in the room walked in front of Naruto and kneeled down and bowed their head to him. We appreciate all your hard work, Naruto-sama. We bestow to you the king of the Tora mission. Out of nowhere they produce a crown and place it on his head. And bow once more. Everyone's sweat drops at this, even Sasuke. Okay, now that whatever that was is over with. Kakashi, are you taking another mission today? He gets a nod in response. Okay, we have painting some fences, cleaning a river, or. He was cut off by Sakura screeching. No, I demand a higher ranked mission. You are holding me and Sasuke-kun back from being great. Give us a higher mission now. So. She was cut off by Naruto placing a silencing seal on her neck. Thank you, Naruto. Hiruzen said. No problem, old man. However, although we have different reasons, I would like to also say we should take a C rank mission, since C ranks are relatively harmless. Although if you need to be persuaded, I can do that as well. So how are we going to do this, the easy way or the hard way? He asks. Hiruzen wouldn't budge. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I can't allow you to go on a C rank mission 2 months out of the academy. He says with a no questions tone. Sasuke looked ready to explode, but Naruto held a hand up for him to stay quiet and let him handle it. Sakura was yelling, but no sound was coming out, and Kakashi, although aware of what was going on, was thinking of ways for Sasuke to unlock his Sharingan. That's too bad, old man. It would be a shame if these got out to the public and ruined your good image. He said he produced photos of the old man at a brothel in the red light district and some of him after seeing the Y jutsu and harem jutsu. After seeing the photos, Hiruzen coughed. Well, due to some rather compelling evidence, I will allow Team 7 to take a C-ranked mission. However, he was interrupted by Team 8 walking in. Sorry, Hokage-sama, we were just coming to hand in the mission report. We can wait outside, Kurenai said. Actually, Kurenai, you arrived just in time. I'm igning Team 7 to an C-ranked mission and I'm adding your team onto the mission as well. He said, shocking her. Are you sure, Hokage-sama? They've only been out of the academy for 2 months. She says. Yes, I've been produced with some rather interesting evidence, so I'm allowing it. he said, glancing at Naruto, who was smiling innocently, which Kurenai knew was fake, having spent time around him and Anko quite a bit. Send in Tazuna. In walks a man with a straw hat and a sake bottle that was half empty. This is it. A bunch of kids and 2 adults. The pink-haired girl looks like she can't lift a damn twig. The one with the dog looks as dumb as a bag of rocks. The girl with short hair looks blind and seems she would cry if she spills her ice cream. The one with the duckus hairstyle looks constipated and has a pole shoved up his, making it look worse. The only 2 I can tell has some skill is the blue-eyed boy with the cool hairstyle and the one with the coat covering his lower face. He looks at Kakashi. Can you even see where you're walking? Then looks at Kurenai and giggles like a pervert. How about during the travel me and you grab a hotel room or share a tent and make some babies? Faster than anybody can see, Naruto grabs Kurenai, who is about to kill the client but is struggling against Naruto's grasp. Hiruzen, seeing this, spoke up. Your mission starts tomorrow at 8 a.m. Dismissed. Naruto shunshin him and Kurenai to her apartment, where she finally calms down. Thank you, Naru-chan, but how do you know where I live? She asked. I brought you here a couple times after you, Anko and Hana, had your drinking nights at my house, since Anko has a room there and could never be left alone while drunk. He says. She nods. She remembers those nights but never remembers going home. Well, thank you for that as well. Now get going, we have a mission to pack for. She leans and kisses him on the forehead like always and goes inside. Naruto shunshin home, not seeing the shock and anger on a certain Hyuga face. Next day everyone is on time except for Naruto, who is an hour late. They see him walking up to them but is surrounded by about 20 animals. I'm sorry guys, but I have a mission, it's my job now. But L left enough food for each of you for 2 months as well as the medical area. I've restocked it and added a heating compartment to it as well, so you all have somewhere to sleep at night now. He leans down and they all nuzzle you to him, walking off sad that he was leaving for a long time. Kurenai smiles at that scene, knowing how Naruto took in the stray animals. Kiba, seeing this, openly mocked Naruto. Ha, I guess you need all those animals, after all you're a street rat just like them. Causing Sakura to join in. Yeah, Baka, nobody wanted those animals like nobody wanted you, it's fitting they find comfort in you. Sasuke smirks at that one, causing Sakura to squeal and fangirl over him. While Kiba openly laughs at him, Kurenai looks at Naruto and sees him going through hand seals. Now Kurenai, having been around Naruto quite a bit, recognized those hand seals and immediately grabs his hand and shakes her head no. He sighs, shunshined away from them, walking towards Wave. It took them an hour to catch up to him. When they do, they see him tying up 2 shinobi who Kurenai and Kakashi recognizes as the demon brothers of the mist. Naruto looks at them and sees the shock on everyone's face except Kurenai, and anger on Kakashi and Sasuke faces, and lust on Hinata. Kakashi started to berate him. Naruto, what the hell is your problem? Why did you go off on your own? You could have been killed. I should write you up or have you suspended from the ninja program. Kurenai was about to speak up, but Naruto beat her to it. Shut up, Kakashi. We all both know you are only mad because you couldn't see your precious Sasuke in action. Don't act all disciplinary now like you actually care, since there is another Jonin around and a client to protect. You never discipline the other 2 members of the team. Let me guess, you see Sasuke and see a spitting image of yourself from when you were younger, and Sakura's whore of a mother must have let you her again or paid you off to tolerate Sakura. He says he gets no response. TCH, that's sad. A well-respected shinobi like yourself can be bought, that's a shame. Now I've already interrogated them, you have some explaining to do, Tazuna. He says in a tone of voice that reminds Sasuke of his brother again, making him pissed off. After Tazuna explains his story, they decided to continue on, and later they set up camp for the night. Naruto is sitting by a river when he feels Kurenai walking to him. He doesn't move her because she is allowed inside the invisible barrier he set up. He can sense Hinata in the trees looking at him, but she can't get through the barrier. She is shocked when Kurenai gets tough and sits next to him. Naruto, are you okay? You let out a bit of anger back there. She says, and wrapped her arm around him, pulling him into a hug much to Hinata's displeasure. Yay, I am fine now. I have to vent like that sometimes to not let any darkness grow inside me if I want to master the Kyuubi chakra. He says. What do you mean by that? Can you just force it to give you chakra because of the seal? She asks. No, it doesn't work like that. The Kyuubi chakra is filled with hate and anger, and I have to separate the hate and anger first to gain control over it before taking in the rest of it. If I have any amount of darkness in my body, the hatred will overpower me, killing me in the process before disappearing. He says. What do you mean? She doesn't quite understand, so with a sigh he tells her about him freeing the Kyuubi and the truth behind the Kyuubi attack and him gaining the Fox contract. Kurenai, shocked and amazed at this, can't help but feel proud of her little brother. Summon a fox so I know you're telling the truth about the contract. Naruto nods and goes through some hand signs before clapping his hands together. Nothing happened, Naruto. She states. I know we have a stalker in the trees. She couldn't hear us, but now she can't see us either. Not even her Byakugan can see through the barrier. He then goes through hand signs and summons Scarlet, his personal summons, who is sleeping as proof, and sends her back. Kurenai is amazed by this and couldn't help but gush about how cute the fox was. After talking for another hour, he drops the barrier and they leave. They wake up the next morning and Naruto tells Kurenai that Zabuza of the Hidden Mist will be waiting and has an apprentice with him. She nods and tells Kakashi. A few days later, Zabuza arrives and what should have been an easy 2-on-1 since the apprentice decided to stay back turned into a train wreck because Kakashi kept getting in Kurenai's way, resulting in them both being trapped in a water prison. Run. You guys are no match for him, Kakashi says. Kurenai doesn't say anything because she's focused on her breathing and working on a plan to try and escape. She looks up to see Zabuza create 10 water clones and Kiba and Sasuke rush in to fight them but get easily handled. Naruto, seeing this, sighs and throws 2 kunai with at the clones, but what they don't see is a third kunai with an explosive tag in the shadow that falls into the water. Kurenai saw it and braced herself. Next thing they know, the 2 kunai turned into 50 and takes out all the water clone while the kunai in the river exploded, making Zabuza lose control of the water prison and freeing Kakashi and Kurenai from the water prisons. Kurenai jumps to shore while Kakashi and Zabuza go through hand signs mirroring each other. Water style. Water dragon jutsu. The 2 dragons collide while Kakashi goes through another set of hand signs that Naruto copies. Water style. Giant vortex jutsu. A whirlpool of water forms and crashes into Zabuza, sending him into a tree. Zabuza gets up. How did you use my jutsu before me? Can you see the future? Yes, and your future is death. Kakashi rushes at him to end his life but jumps back when Tsusenbon hits Zabuza in the neck and he falls to the ground. Kakashi checks for a pulse and doesn't find one. He's dead, he says as he covers his Sharingan. Then a person in a Hunter Nin mask appears at Zabuza's body. Thank you for distracting him. I'll take his sword and body to turn them in. With that, the ninja disappears along with Zabuza and his sword. Naruto shared a knowing look with Kurenai, who shook her head. Good job, Sasuke and Kiba, good teamwork. Sakura, Hinata and Shino, nice job protecting the client. Naruto, you're getting suspended once we head back to the village for not following orders a second time. Kakashi said. I don't really care, Kakashi. Whoever your Junin sensei was would be disappointed in you. I hope whoever it was isn't alive so they wouldn't see what kind of failure and sellout you've become. Naruto said. Kakashi rushed at Naruto, but he simply dodged and struck a pressure point in Kakashi's back, temporarily paralyzing him. Naruto, you can't do that to Kakashi sensei, apologize right now. Sakura screeched. Quote. That's all you Harunos are good for anyway. Useless bitch. Naruto says. Now this shocks Kurenai because Naruto has a lot of respect for women and would never call one a bitch like that and not apologize. I need to get him off that team, she thought. Alright, that's enough. Since Kakashi is out, I'm in charge. Tazuna, how much further until we reach Wave? Kurenai said. We should be there in another 30 minutes if we keep to the road we're on. It's a small boat that can take us the rest of the way, he says. Alright, let's move out. Kiba, you carry Kakashi. Tazuna, lead the way. Kurenai said. They walked and reached Wave. Had they walked faster they would have ran into a squad of Kumo shinobi with a certain blonde on the team who just left delivering a client after the Raikage refused to help the poor country but had the team escort him back. Naruto was staring off into space looking at the unfinished bridge that is humongous. If he had to guess it would take another 2 to 3 weeks to complete. He was broken out of his thoughts when Sakura yelled in his ear. Hey, stop daydreaming and get moving, Naruto, I swear you're such a baka. Stop screaming in my ear, you stupid bitch. He yelled back. He walked away not even caring. Kurenai stops him. You're going the wrong way, Naruto. Tazuna said his house was this way, pointing in the direction. I'll meet you there later. I can easily find you, remember I'm a sensor type as well. I'm gonna try and find out anything about this Gato by walking around the village. He says. She nods and tells him to be back by 8 p.m. That gives him 4 hours to gather as much info as needed. He walks away as they head to the house. Meanwhile, Samui, who was jumping through the trees with her team, suddenly stopped and turned around. She thought she heard a familiar name called but brushed it off as her imagination. Samui, what's wrong? Why did you stop jumping? Asked a red-haired girl. Nothing, Karui. I thought I heard something. Let's keep going. She said in her usual cold tone of voice. Wow, Karui, you're really worried about Samui. You should be more worried about if your flat chest will ever grow. Said a light blonde-haired boy on her team. Shut up, Omoi, I am only 13, they'll grow later. Karui said, punching the now named Omoi in the stomach. That's enough, you two, come on, we have to get back to Kumo. Samui, I'm very impressed with your work on missions. You too as well, if you keep it up the Raikage may give you all a field promotion to Chunin. Now let's go. Said their Junin sensei, who had blonde hair but had it in a long ponytail going down her back. It looked almost like a cat tail. Hi sensei, they all said, and 3 of them took off. However, Samui stayed behind a little longer and pulled out her half of the yin-yang necklace and looked at Naruto. Name on it. A tear fell from her eye and she hurried up and wiped it away before putting back on her cold stoic face. She takes off, catching up to her team. Meanwhile, Naruto is walking through the Wave village and is taken back by what he sees. Everything looks poor and has no money. All the shops are barely standing and they have little food to eat. He keeps walking until he sees some of Gato's goons trying to force themselves on a woman and her daughter who looks to be about 14 to 15. He rushes over just as they both try to grope their breasts and kicks them away. The 4 goons stand up and charge at Naruto, who takes them down with ease. He ties them up and tells the woman and her daughter to leave and go home. They nod but not before thanking him and leaving. Naruto looks at the thugs and activates his Mangekyo Sharingan. Tsukuyomi. 3 seconds later, in the real world, he has all the info he needed and killed the thugs and burned their bodies with a small fireball jutsu. He returns to the house after walking around some more, getting a layout of the place. However, before he left, made clones go to every house he could and drop of bentos and blankets to keep them warm at night. He kept in a large storage scroll sealed on his wrists. The food was kept in fresh warm due to a tiny seal he put on all the bentos. He left a note in every house that simply said, Gato will be no more in a week. The villagers were confused at first but held on to hope that the letter wasn't a lie and ate some of the bentos left in the house. He gave each family enough food for 2 weeks. He reaches Tazuna's house and Hinata opens the door for him and he walks in, not saying a word to her. He sits down and tells Kurenai what he found out and she nods. He looks around at everybody. Tazuna is asleep in a chair. Shino is in a corner by himself. Kiba must be upstairs with Kakashi sleeping. He senses for their chakra and he was right. Sakura was fawning over Sasuke as usual. However, Naruto noticed Sasuke had his Sharingan awakened again due to the fight but only has 1 tomo in each eye. That's cute, he thought to himself, and finally Hinata was surprised right next to him, sneaking glances. Tsunami comes out and her greets her. Then her son Inari came in yelling at the ninja about how they don't know what it means to struggle and that Gato and his goons will kill them. Naruto stands up and walks to Inari. Put your shoes on and come with me, he said in a no questions asked tone. Inari, scared for his life, does as told. Tsunami tries to stop them but Kurenai says Inari will be fine. Tsunami nods reluctantly and goes back to cooking dinner. Naruto talks to Inari about his life and Inari tells him about how Kaiza tried to stand up to Gato and was killed in front of the village. Naruto takes Inari around the village and shows him how people are living compared to him. See Inari, you may have it bad, but remember somebody always has it worse than you. That's why I never complain about life and how it's treated me. I never let my past shape my future or hold me down. In about a week or so Gato will no longer be a problem because he is a rapist. He hasn't raped anybody from this village, but that doesn't mean he hasn't tried. So next time he shows his face will be the last. Now let's go unless you want to say hi to that girl you're staring at. He says with a smirk. Inari gets an atomic blush on his face and runs home. Naruto laughs at him and tells the girl where Inari lives and to visit him sometime. They arrive at the house and Inari completely ignores his mom and rushes up to his room. Naruto enters the house 10 seconds with a cookbook in his hand. He heard Kurenai speak to him but decided to have some fun with her. Naruto, what did you say to Inari? Why did he run to his room like that? Kurenai asks. She knew he heard her because he head moved a little bit. What did you say? Wrong move. She punched him over the head, making him fall to the ground. I know you heard me. She yelled. Okay, fine. Spoil sport, ruin my fun, why don't you? He said with a pout, rubbing the bump on his head. Tsunami, it seems your son has a crush on a girl. All I did was tell him to say hi to her and he blushed and ran home. He acted like I told him to go, and he was cut off by Kurenai putting her hand over his mover, knowing what he was gonna say next. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go take a shower. Kurenai sensei, can you handle it for me? He glances at Hinata and she understands but waits for him to get in the shower. 2 minutes later the shower is running and Hinata activates her Byakugan but is mad she can't see him in the shower for some reason. Kurenai, seeing this, sighs. Hinata, come outside with me. I need to talk to you about something. Kurenai says and goes outside. Hinata follows her. What did you need me for, Kurenai sensei? I'm going to be straightforward with you. You need to stop stalking Naruto. He doesn't like it. In fact, he told me that he has already told you about him not liking you in a romantic way. Why did you not tell me this when you talked to me about him? She asks. Oh Kurenai, I'm not stalking him, I'm just making sure he gets around safe. And of course he likes me. He was just messing around with me. I mean, he did save me from some bullies when we were younger and he hasn't said anything about me following him around. Hinata says. Kurenai slightly slides away from her. Actually Hinata, he doesn't like you, he likes somebody else. And contrary to what you've seen on this mission, Naruto is actually a nice kid, he doesn't blow up at people. He handled the situation the easy way, he doesn't want to have to tell your father. Kurenai said. Who does he like? Hinata asks in a dangerously low voice that sends warning signals off in Kurenai's head, so she stands up and turns toward the door. I don't know who he likes, he won't tell me even after knowing me for basically his entire life. He only told 2 people, Anko and the other I don't know who it is, he hasn't told me that either. With that she walks into the house, leaving Hinata to herself. Kurenai enters the house and notices Shino is missing and asks where he went. Naruto came and got him and they left to sit by the dock in the back. Tsunami said, and true enough, Kurenai looked out the window and Shino and Naruto were sitting on the dock, however she couldn't hear them and knew Naruto must have put up a privacy barrier around them. Few minutes earlier, Naruto gets out of the shower and puts on some shorts and a shirt to sleep in. He senses Kurenai outside with Hinata most likely talking to her. Sakura was still with Sasuke, however Sasuke seemed to have drained all of his chakra playing with his Sharingan. Dumbass, that's what you get, he thought. Shino was in the same spot, however his chakra seemed unsure for some reason, so he went up to him. Shino, can I talk to you by the dock? He asks and gets a nod in reply. They arrived at the dock and sat down. He quickly put up a privacy barrier so nobody could hear them. Alright Shino, what's the problem? I know something is bothering you. Your chakra is going haywire with uncertainty. He asks. You are correct Naruto, I do have a problem. Why? Because in my clan our Kikaichu bugs do not sync with my body type for some reason. Why I am uncertain you ask is because the clan has no way to help me with the problem since this is a first and I can only carry so few outside of my body. Shino explained. Naruto gained a thoughtful look on his face. What if I can come up with a seal that goes on your body that can hold your bug inside as well as set the temperature to how they like it? All you would need to do is channel a bit of chakra to release the seal during battle and they can come out when you call for them. Would your clan accept something like that for you? Shino now was the one who gained a thoughtful look. I suppose we can give it a try. How long do you think it would take to make it? Shino asks. Well, I can make it in about 3 days since I would need you to collect any kind of plants that they would like and I want to make it huge on the inside like almost the size of a small forest. That way the male and female will have plenty of food that they can eat. I also want to add another seal to it where you can give a certain amount of chakra to another part in the seal where you can control the kind of climate the bugs have. To say Shino was shocked was an understatement, but you would never see it. Very well, I shall collect what I can and thank you Naruto, I owe you one. He say. Don't worry about it Shino. Shino nods. Naruto drops the barrier and then goes inside the house and goes to sleep. Naruto goes to his room with Sasuke and what he sees disgusts him. Sasuke is asleep and Sakura is giving him a blowjob, and from the way Sasuke's chakra felt he must have been asleep for about an hour, which means Sakura must have just snuck in here recently. Naruto closes the door and goes downstairs and sees Kurenai sitting on the couch. He goes and joins her. Can't sleep? She asks. No, Sakura is giving Sasuke a blowjob right now while he sleeps. Kurenai gets a shocked look on her face. Are you serious? Very serious, at least from the look on his face. While he slept he was enjoying it. She must have learned from her mother. I've seen the videos of her and I can see why people go back to her for some services. He says. Kurenai only nods in shock. So why are you up, Nai-chan? She smiles that this was the nickname that him and Anko gave her one day a few years ago and they've called her that every day from then on. Naruto, I think Hinata might be crazy. She seems to have some psychological issues because I talked to her and she went through mood swings. I told her you like someone else and she snapped and asked who. I told her I don't know, only Anko and one other person knows, but I didn't say who. I know she won't go after Anko, but what if she finds out that you know who also knows? Do you think she will attack her? Kurenai asks. No, I'm not worried if she was to attack you know who. She would lose. She is as strong as a mid-jonin taijutsu wise and is deadly accurate with a knife or anything she can throw and has the speed of an high jonin, and her taijutsu relies on hitting pressure points and she is really skilled at that. I think besides me, Anko, the green spandex freaks and another Hyuga, she is somebody who can go toe to toe with the gentle fist style and win. He says, shocking Kurenai. They sit in silence until Naruto breaks it. Samui, he says. Kurenai raised an eyebrow at this. That's the name of the girl I love. Shocking her. He tells her the story behind them and Kurenai can't help but feel for him. I'm sure you'll find her, Naruto. He nods. They hear footsteps and see Sakura sneaking to the kitchen and spits in the sink running water to clean it out. She tries to sneak back but Naruto stops her. Hey Sakura. She freezes. Yes Naruto. She replies. Spitters or quitters, he said, and she hangs her head at being caught and goes to her room. Meanwhile, Kurenai and Naruto laugh silently before going to their rooms and going to sleep. Next morning, Naruto wakes up and goes downstairs. Everybody looks at him and continues eating. He decides to break the silence. So Sasuke, did you sleep good last night? He asks. If you must know, yes I did, Sasuke replies. Good good, it must have been nice to release everything from the day then. What about you Sakura, did you sleep well last night? Must have ed for you if you didn't. He asks. Actually loser, I do feel like I've released a whole load of off from everything yesterday. Sasuke replies. I bet you did. I bet you did. What about you Sakura, don't hold it in, spit it out. At this, Kurenai is about to die from holding in laughter. When Inari walks in, she finally laughs. Mom, I was trying to sleep last night but I kept hearing this noise that kept me up for almost 30 minutes. What was it at that? Everybody's jaw hits the ground except Naruto. Kurenai, Shino and Sasuke, who didn't know what was going on. Sakura had a deep blush on her face and tried to hide in her shirt. Kurenai, despite usually being against Naruto openly talking about, was holding her ribs while laughing. Shino, you could see his shoulders moving slightly. Hinata thought about doing that to Naruto tonight, and Tsunami and Tazuna were just shaking their heads, but if you looked closely they were also laughing. Kiba silently asked Sakura if he could be next and she punched him. After everybody calmed down, Kakashi came and told them Zabuza was alive still and that his injuries would take a week to heal up, so he was training Team 7 in tree climbing except Naruto, who had to guard the bridge all week. He thought Naruto would object, but he didn't care. A few hours later the teams are done training and Naruto finished the first part of the seal for Shino during his guard duty. Now they were at home and Naruto told Kurenai he was gonna go to the forest for sign trading and would just camp out there. He trained for 5 hours on the last step for his lightning affinity, keeping a light bulb lit for 10 minutes. So far he could do it for 5 minutes. By time he finished training he was up to 7 minutes. He fell asleep, and in the morning the hunter Nin that saved Zabuza was walking through the forest collecting herbs when she spotted Naruto. She held her hand out to his neck to strangle him, however he spoke up. I wouldn't do that if I were you, it might get you killed. He sat up and looked at her. She was inwardly cursing at being caught, so she put on an act of innocence. You shouldn't sleep out here, you'll catch a cold, she said. I don't get sick. So what's your name? He asked. He already knows this is the hunter Nin. Haku, she replies. Well, nice to meet you Haku, I'm Naruto. So what are you doing out here so early? I'm collecting herbs for my friend, he is sick, she replies. Well, I hope your friend gets better. Thank you. What about you? What are you doing out here? She asks. I was training last night and decided to sleep outside. He said. Are you a ninja? He nods. What do you fight for? I fight to protect my loved one from harm, he said. Then I believe you will become really strong. I believe that true strength comes when you have a precious person to protect. I'm sorry, but I must be going to take care of my friend. By Naruto. See ya. Tell Zabuza I wish him a speedy recovery. She turns around but he is gone already and she rushes back to the hideout. A week has passed and today is the day they guessed Zabuza would attack the bridge. Naruto stayed back to protect the house and to his surprise some thugs did show up, but he handles them quickly and leaves some clones at the house and heads to the bridge. He makes it to the bridge. He sees Kurenai's mood and she looks pissed. He didn't have to ask why Kakashi decided to fight Zabuza one-on-one and is having trouble even with the Sharingan uncovered. That left her to guard the client with Shino, Hinata and Sakura, who wouldn't shut up about Sasuke. He handed her a silencing seal and she put it on Sakura. Why are you here, Naruto? She asks. Gato sent thugs to the house to kidnap Tsunami, however I stopped them and came here. He looks the ice mirrors and Kurenai signs. Can you go help them please? He nods and shunshuns to the mirrors and grabs the hunter Nin easily by the leg as she was preparing to finish off both Sasuke and Kiba. Using her shock to his advantage, he punches her in the stomach and face, breaking her mask and knocking the wind out of her. He does something that shocks her and throws her through her own mirrors that should have caught her. She landed against the bridge and knew she was defeated. Naruto, looking to finish her off by knocking her out, heard what sounded like chirping birds and they saw Zabuza pinned down by a pack of dogs and Kakashi charging at him. Zabuza-sama. Haku uses an ice mirror to save Zabuza, but she gets stabbed through the heart with the Chidori. Zabuza was about to attack again, however Gato showed up. Well, look here boys. It seems the baby of the mist couldn't get the job done. Oh well, I was going to kill him anyway. Hey Zabuza, where's that girl you had with you? She was young but she looked mature enough for my likings. He said with a perverted look on his face. He sees her dead body and looks up at Naruto, who was standing next to her body. He made the mistake and looked into his eyes. He whispers so nobody can hear him. Tsukuyomi. In the Tsukuyomi world, Gato finds himself tied down on a bed unable to move. Welcome to my world of Tsukuyomi. I am God, I can control what happens in here. Now you will tell me the passwords and combinations to all safes you have locked away in your hideout. You punk, I'm not saying shit. Very well, since you like raping girls and abusing them, that's what will happen to you for the 3 days. However, in the real world, only 3 seconds will pass. Have fun. And by the third hour of him being raped and abused, he was telling Naruto all he wanted to hear. Finally, the 3 days ended. Real world. After the Tsukuyomi finishes, Naruto deactivates his Mangekyo Sharingan and Gato screams and falls down. He takes out a kunai and shoves it through his head. That's when the other thugs and mercenaries attacked. Zabuza, unable to use his arms, had Naruto toss him a kunai. He caught it in his mouth and he killed every thug and mercenary. He fell to the ground with swords and knives sticking out of his back. Hey kid, can you take these out my back and lay me next to her? Naruto nods and takes out the swords and knives and carries Zabuza over to Haku. He starts crying as he sees her dead body. I'm really sorry, Haku. I never wanted you to be a part of this ninja life. I wanted you to grow up, live your life to the fullest, fall in love and have a family. I remember when I first found you. You were a scared, skinny little girl who was a victim of the bloodline purges that was started by the Mizukage. I tried to stop him. I had a full plan that was 100% guaranteed to work. I was betrayed by somebody acting as a spy in the rebels' camp and was forced to flee with you. Despite me being the demon of the mist, I am against killing children, ninja or not a ninja. I trained you to become my personal tool. However, as time progressed, you became the daughter I always wanted, and I never told you I loved you once. I won't be seeing you again because where you're going I'm not allowed. I love you, Haku Yuki Momochi, the daughter I always wanted. He said with tears falling down his face. Hey kid. Yeah. Naruto says. I want you to try and lift my sword. Naruto does as told. He walks over to the Kubikiribocho and lifts it with no problems. Congratulations kid, you are now the owner of the Kubikiribocho. The sword will only allow people it deems worthy lift it. It is now yours to wield. You are the fourth person to lift that sword as far as I know. Make me proud kid, the legacy is yours to continue. And with that, Zabuza passed on. Dying. How any shinobi of his caliber would? He went out fighting and he couldn't have asked for a better way to go. A few hours later, Naruto is seen standing at the graves of Haku and Zabuza. He lifts the Kubikiribocho over his shoulder and walks away. I will make you proud, Zabuza. I swear, he said to himself. He enters the village and everyone starts to cheer for him, giving him a hero's welcome with praises and gifts. However, he declined the gifts, kindly saying that it was okay. They were going to build a statue of him for killing Gato and they wouldn't take no for an answer. So he made a deal with them that they could make the statue as long as Zabuza got one as well for taking out all of Gato's goons before his death. The villagers agreed to that and even held a moment of silence for Zabuza. He might have been known as the demon of the mist to the other nations, however to the Wave village he was a hero. After a few hours the celebration was still going on, however Naruto had one more thing to do. He located Gato's mansion and found a safe with all of his money, not just from what he took from Wave but from his illegal dealings as well. He signed the papers giving him control over Gato's shipping company, and the idiot already had his name on the papers. He cut all ties with the illegal business owners he had. After sealing up all the money in the vault, he found a journal that would need to be seen by the Hokage himself. It had things to do with his treacherous student. He found a lightning jutsu that would suit him perfectly. After that, he released all the girls that were chained up in the basement who ranged from the ages of 14 to mid-30s. He sensed for anyone in the building and found none. After getting everyone out the house, he threw a kunai with an explosive tag on it. This was his personal tag that was strong enough to level a city block if pumped with enough chakra. However, he set it to blow up a large building, in this case a mansion. Everyone was walking away and Naruto set the tag off, blowing up the mansion. The people at Wave who were partying looked up and saw the mansion explode and cheered even louder. Few minutes later, a large group of people are heading back from the mansion, putting everyone on edge. However, they see Naruto with all the women that went missing, and tears of joy and happy reunions of family and loved ones are going on now. While this was going on, he noticed Teams 7 and 8 were also out walking around. He was tired and decided to head to the house and sleep. 2 more weeks went by and the bridge was complete and Zabuza and Naruto's statue was built. It showed Zabuza and Naruto standing back to back with Zabuza having his sword over his shoulder and Naruto with his arms crossed standing with his leg on Gato's back with the same kunai embedded in Gato's skull. If you ask Naruto, it was pretty badass. Now they are standing at the village entrance about to leave to return home. And they got a hero's farewell. Well, Naruto did. He was hailed with hugs and kisses to the cheek from a group of women, much to the amusement of Kurenai and secretly Shino as well. Hinata was pissed at that. Kiba was jealous and muttered about how the ladies should be going after a true alpha like himself. Sakura was fawning over Sasuke, who again was activating and deactivating his one-tomo Sharingan. He never learns, and Kakashi was thinking about his porno and how to get that sword from Naruto. Tazuna then spoke up. We can't thank you guys enough for everything you've done for us. When we get back on our feet, I will send for an alliance between Wave and the Leaf, as you were the only ones willing to help us. We've reached out and were rejected by every other village. Only the Raikage was nice enough to send a Genin team and a Jonin to escort our messenger back free of charge. If there is anything you need before you leave, please let me know. He said. We don't need anything. We need to get going. We have a long trip back. Kakashi said immediately. Actually, there are 2 things I need actually. Naruto said. We don't have time for this, Genin. We need to complete the mission and report to the Hokage. Kakashi said. Sure, what do you need, kid? Tazuna asked, ignoring Kakashi. I need you and Tsunami to step forward, he said. They did so, wondering what was going on. Naruto unsealed a scroll and handed it to Tazuna. In that scroll is every single ryo that Gato had to his name from all of his businesses, illegal and legal. The money will fall out as soon as you open the scroll, so take it to the bank before opening it. It's a lot of money, maybe about 2.5 billion ryo, so you should have no problem getting your country back on its feet. He said, shocking all the people there. Pulls out another scroll and unseals the transfer papers to the shipping company. Tsunami, I want you to sign these papers for me before I tell you what it is. He says. Tsunami, trusting him, does as he says and signs the papers. Those were business transfer papers. When I raided Gato's mansion, I found these and he already had his name on them, so I added my name. Once that was done, I signed another transfer paper. You are now the owner of Gato's shipping company. Do not worry about the illegal businesses he had going through his company. I put an end to them as soon as I signed the papers. I know you will do good by the business, which is why I left it to you. She gives him a big hug with tears in her eyes, which he returns, which causes men to get jealous because his head is right in between her breasts. I will take care of this the best I can. She told him. I know you will. Oh, and Inari, good luck with your girlfriend you got there. He said before they took off, missing the blush on both kids' faces. So Dad, what are we going to name the bridge? Tsunami asked. I was going to name it the Super Tazuna Bridge, however I have decided on the Great Hero Bridge. Named after our 2 heroes who helped free us from Gato's reign. He said, getting cheers from the people of Wave. The journey back to Konoha was stressful. Naruto almost revealed his Sharingan and put everybody minus Kurenai, Shino and Hinata in a genjutsu. Kiba was bragging about how Zabuza was a failure and that he wouldn't have died like he did. The result was Naruto throwing the sword at Kiba's head, similar to the way Zabuza did to them. He just barely got out of the way. Sasuke was bragging about having his Sharingan before Naruto and how he was better, and Naruto hinted at having his already by saying, I don't need my Sharingan to prove how strong I am, something which only Kurenai and Shino caught. Sakura was of course clinging to Sasuke, asking him out on dates. Kakashi was nagging Naruto about his behavior and defended Zabuza. Ms. Sword, all he got was a "you" from Naruto, who kept moving. Kurenai walks up to him and whispered, I'm gonna request a team transfer between you and Kiba when we get back. He nods before she moves on. They reached Konoha in about 2 days due to not having a civilian with them, and went to the mission's office to hand in the mission report, where Kakashi tried to lie on Naruto, but Kurenai, Shino and Hinata stood up for him. After everything was done, he dismissed them, but Kurenai spoke up between them. Hokage-sama, I would like to request a team transfer between Kiba and Naruto. She said. He thought about it, and from the mission report he got from Team 7D tank missions, the team was dysfunctional. Sasuke and Sakura would do little to no work while Naruto does the rest, and Kakashi only blames Naruto when something goes wrong. He then thought about how Kurenai reports that Kiba keeps trying to get with Hinata and her on some occasions, which resulted in him getting a lot of beatings from his mother and sister. He made his decision. Very well. Sign the papers and it will become official. Kurenai signs and Kakashi, not paying attention, signs as well. It's official, the team transfer between Naruto and Kiba is official. He says, shocking Kakashi. What, Hokage-sama? I'm the only one who can train them in the Sharingan, that's why I requested them both to be on my team. Kakashi says. Yes you did, but I've been through the mission reports, your team is a ticking time bomb. So I am replacing Naruto with Kiba. Dismissed. Everyone leaves, but Naruto grabs Hinata. Come with me. She nods and he shuns them away. Kurenai sees this and hopes he doesn't break her. They arrive on top of the Hokage monument. Hinata, I know about your talk with Kurenai. I'm here to tell you it will never happen. Hinata opens her mouth to speak, but he cuts her off. The reason it won't happen is because I've never had romantic feelings for you. Yes, I did save you from bullies, but that is because I do not like bullying. I think you fell in love with what I did for you and not me personally. I think of you like a sister that I never had. I would rather not lose that. Besides, you were so caught up on me that you never recognized the other guy who has feelings for you. I hope we can move on from this and you can find true happiness, because I am not the guy meant for you. She nods with tears in her eyes. I guess I can accept that. But who is it that has romantic feelings for me? She asked, wiping away her tears. It's not business to tell you. You will have to figure that out on your own. So are we good now? He says. Yes, we're good. He pulls her to a hug, which she accepts. Just then the same boar-masked Anbu that hates Naruto arrives. Hinata Hyuga and Naruto Uchiha, you are wanted at the council for a meeting immediately. He goes to grab them, but Naruto knocks his hand away. We can get there on our own now, leave. The Anbu grits his teeth but leaves. So you ready for a show? She nods. Alright, so shall we arrive in style or walk? She thinks about it and then answers. Let's go in style. Next thing she knows, they disappeared in a swirl of blue fire. Council chambers. Where is the boy and Lady Hinata Hiruzen? That Anbu returned, but he did not come with him. Before he could reply, a swirl of blue fire rose from the floor and yelling can be heard. Damn it, Naruto, you could have warned me. Following the tell was what sounded like a slap to the head. The fire dies down and it was Hinata standing there with Naruto in the floor nursing a bump on his head. Hinata looks up at everybody staring at her and starts poking her fingers together shyly. The most surprised, however, was her father, because she has never acted like that. Naruto stands up and greets the council in typical Naruto fashion. What's up, Hokage Gigi, Sum-san, White Eyes-san, Bug-san, Lazy-san, Food-san, Inoichi-san. Everyone's sweat drops at this. Why does everyone have a nickname besides Sum and Inoichi? Shikaku asked. Well, Sum isn't really keen on nicknames and I haven't thought of one for Inoichi. He said with a smile. You will show this council some respect, boy. Koharu said. Naruto didn't even see her there. She should have kept her mouth shut. Oh hey saggy tits, I didn't see you there. How are you today? You as well, one-eyed pedophile. Sup cool old man. Homaru nods at Naruto. Now two things happened. Koharu was seething in anger. Her face was red, but the most shocking was Danzo. He slapped his gooder on the table and yelled, I am not a pedophile. Naruto slapped his hands on the table and yelled back. You liar, I saw how keep looking at me with a look of want in your eye when I was little and you're still doing it. Naruto yelled back, pointing at Danzo as this was going on. Sakura still gushed over Sasuke, who ignored her. Kiba was trying to grab Hinata's. She moved toward Shino. He stiffens up as she grabs his arm, something she notices. Kakashi is waiting for this meeting to be over so he can train Sasuke. Kurenai is pinching her nose. The clan heads are snickering except Sum, who is openly laughing, banging the table. Even Shibi has a smile, but you can't see it, and Hiashi, to Hinata's surprise, his lips keep twitching upward. Start the meeting, Hiruzen, Danzo said through his clenched teeth. Alright, we are here because Sasuke decided to brag to the civilian council about the mission report from the Wave mission. And they have some questions for you, Naruto. He nods and the questions start. Is it true that you killed Gato and his mercenaries and took control of his shipping business and stole all the money from his mansion? A fat councilman asked. Yes, I did kill Gato, however it was Zabuza Momochi who killed the mercenaries. I did take over the business, but he was cut off by a different council member with pink hair. We demand you hand the business and money over to us right now and give Sasuke-sama that sword. That's when Naruto speaks his cold tone. If you would have let me finish, you would know that I gave the money to Wave and signed the business over to Tezuna's daughter. They need it more than we do and even agreed to an alliance after they get back on their feet. Now you do not demand anything from me. I am a ninja and not a ninja that you can have with to get what you want. I've seen the videos you made with some ninja and former council members. Nice job teaching your daughter, by the way, seen it with my own eyes. But unlike you, she is a spitter and not a swallower. And hasn't ed anybody yet. I'll say this though, you sure are flexible if you can still put both legs behind your head. He said, making both Harunos blush in anger and embarrassment. Now for the Kubikiribocho, the proper name for my sword. Sasuke cannot have it as it only allows those who are worthy to lift it. I do not know what happens when somebody else does though. But if he is willing to try. He places the Kubikiribocho on the ground. Sasuke tries to pick it up and gets electrocuted. Now is there anything else or can I go? Two hands are raised belonging to Sum and Shibi. Shibi allows Sum to go first. Hana has told me that you created a medical seal for animals that heals almost every injury except a broken bone, as well as a self-serving station for animals to get the seal placed if they are injured. Is that correct? She asks. Yes, the seals rely on nature chakra and uses the right amount to not harm the animal. And the seal fades away after it finishes healing. It doesn't heal broken bones or major wounds that would require surgery. He explained. Would you like a B-rank mission to build 2 of those stations for the Inuzuka clan? She asks. Those would be much helpful to the Ninken and avoid unnecessary surgeries. I would not mind that at all, however it must go through the Hokage and be on a weekend since Kurenai-sensei doesn't do weekend missions. He says, and she nods. Shibi spoke up next. Naruto-san, Shino has informed me of a certain seal you created. Would you mind telling me about it? Shibi asks. I cannot explain it to you because of how it is made, however I can show you the blueprints of it. He unseals a scroll and hands it to Shibi, who opens it up and reads it. He was so impressed that both of his eyebrows rose up. He rolls the scroll back up and hands it to Naruto. If possible, I would like to purchase 100 of these seals from you if you will allow me to. Shibi says. Naruto nods and says they will talk later about the price. Hiashi speaks up. Naruto, how far along in sealing are you? He asks. I'm already done with the 10 levels of Konoha seals and I'm at level 4 in the Uzumaki sealing levels, he says, shocking him and Danzo. Danzo, because Hiruzen told him he didn't have Uzumaki sealing scrolls. Hiruzen, you lied to me. I thought you didn't have the Uzumaki sealing scrolls. Yes, I lied to you, so what? We both know what you would do with them. Besides, they were left to Naruto by his godmother anyway, so they weren't mine to give away. Danzo said nothing, but clearly he was pissed. Oh, and before you even think about sending your goons to try and get them from me, Danzo. Remember this, I can dig up roots and have them burned to never grow again. He said in a voice that reminds him and Sasuke of Itachi. I don't know what you're talking about, he replies smoothly, although inside he is wondering how he knows about root being active still. Sure you don't. Now Hiashi, anything else you need? Yes, I would like for you to meet me at the Hyuga compound later for something important. I'll be there at 6. He gets a nod from Hiashi. Alright, this meeting is, Hiruzen was cut off by Shikaku. Sorry to interrupt Hokage-sama, but Naruto, do you think you can make a seal for me that creates a barrier to block out noise both ways and you can't see me though it lets nobody in other than me? I can use it at home for my naps. He asks, getting a confused look from Naruto. You already have one Shikaku. No, I don't. If I did, I would be using it. Yeah, you do. I gave it to Shikamaru. He has one himself that he uses all the time. I thought he gave you yours. That little. Okay, how does it work? It works just like you said. It creates a barrier that keeps noise in and keeps noise out, and although the barrier is invisible, people won't be able to see you, and since it runs on nature chakra as well, it only comes down once you deactivate the seal, and the seal never gets old, so it can constantly be used. Shikaku is crying anime tears now that he finally has his wish granted of a way to nap in peace. Okay, meeting over. Hiruzen said and vanished. Naruto headed to Anko's apartment, but her and Iruka were on the couch with their shirts off making out, so he put a silencing seal on the door that covered the entire apartment and left a note that said to use protection. He left and went to Ichiraku's and talked with Ayame for an hour before heading to the Hyuga compound. He arrived and greeted the guards at the entrance. Hello, I have a meeting with Hiashi at 6 inches. The guardian his left nods. Yes, he has informed us. Follow me to his office. They walk around and Naruto is amazed at how big the compound is. They arrive at Hiashi's office and the guard knocks. Enter. Hiashi said. The guard opens the door. Hiashi-sama, I have Naruto here for you. He bows and lets Naruto enter. Naruto thanks the guard and enters the office. Naruto, can you please put your privacy barrier? Naruto nods and puts up the barrier. Okay, the reason I wanted to talk to you was this. He pulls out the seal he wanted Naruto to look at. This is the caged bird seal that the Hyuga side branch family wears on their forehead. I want you to look at this and see if you can remove it for me. I want to make the Hyuga clan whole again, and I can't do that if this seal is still in place. I'm not expecting immediate results, but can you at least give it a try? Naruto, studying the seal, speaks up. I should be able to remove it now, however I won't have the seal ready until probably the Chunin exams in 4 months due to missions and training. I'll also create a seal that also destroys the Byakugan at death, but it would be invisible and every Hyuga will have to wear it. He gets a nod from Hiashi. He stands and bows, deactivating the privacy seal but letting Hiashi keep it. He opens the office door and Hinata and a younger girl who looks like Hinata with brownish hair falls over into the room. Oh, what's going on and who are you? He asks, confused. I am Hanabi Hyuga, second daughter of Hiashi Hyuga, you peasant. The little 8-year-old replied. So Hinata, what's going on?